What's up, San Diego? Happy Monday morning to all of you. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. The Padres able to salvage the weekend series against the Chicago Cubs with a gritty win yesterday in Chicago. We got a lot to talk about on that weekend series between the Padres and the Cubs. There's a lot of positives you can pull out of that series, and there's a lot of they got to fix some problems before they continue to move on in the season when it comes to that series. I think yesterday, with their ability to come back and win and the way that they won yesterday, I think that's a type of win that can really propel you for the next couple of weeks. Not to say that the Padres didn't need that because they won the first 7 games of the season, but with how difficult it was in Chicago with the starting pitching that was a problem over the entire weekend. I mean, Randy Vasquez ended up having the best weekend or best start of the weekend for the San Diego Padres, and even his wasn't that great. The fact that they were able to eliminate the problems that they had early in the game, settle in, be able to chip away at it, and then get a victory over the Cubs in the last inning, that's a remarkable comeback. That is something that not a lot of teams can do. And that is something that we've seen this Padres team in particular not be able to do. Not last year, but the year before that, with a lot of the same core of this group. So very gritty win yesterday. Last year when Mike Schilt talked about his grit squad, I was at the beginning of the year, they were playing 500 ball, and they honestly weren't playing that gritty. I'm on board with the way that they finished the season last year and with the game yesterday. Yesterday is a gritty win that really good teams find ways to capitalize on. Really good teams find ways to win in situations like that. That's grit. That's a gritty team right there. That's guys like Jackson Merrill never wanting to lose. It's that never say die mentality. And I'm going to take this from USD Baseball, who had a big win yesterday. Talk about a gritty win. I'll talk about my trip over the weekend to Los Angeles. And that was a gritty trip in general. From hotel situation to food I consumed to yesterday's game that went 14 innings, went 5 hours and 2 minutes. I don't know how I can still talk after going 5 hours and 2 minutes, but I'm here. We're here to be excited about the Padres. But to go back to the gritty win, the term that USD uses all the time, and it was better when there wasn't a pitch clock, but I totally believe this in baseball. There's no clock in baseball. There's no clock in baseball. Yeah, there's a pitch clock now, but the reality is there's no game clock in baseball. So at any point in time, if you put at bats together and you go take care of what take care of business and control what you can control, you could go out there and come back from 3 or 4 runs down, come back from a 7-3 deficit that they were in yesterday. It gives you that never say die mentality, which was great. And the thing is some people, like one guy in the chat, said, lucky win, thanks for Turner Muffin, the DP. When you put pressure on teams, they make mistakes. So you can say it's luck. Oh, it's lucky. The guy missed the ball. There's something about putting pressure when you continually put together good at-bats, when you chip away in innings, you put the pressure back on the other team, and when they have to go make the play, all of a sudden, it gets a little bit more difficult for them, and you get a guy like Justin Turner zooing a ball at first base. Wasn't that great of a throw. He couldn't make the pick. Tatis, with his speed and athleticism, able to make a run out of that situation, was great. What a great comeback for the Padres. Cubs are probably tired of having a lead against San Diego. They've blown major leads against San Diego back-to-back years now, once at Petco Park and now once at Wrigley Field. Their head coach or general manager, it's head coaches in college baseball, it's managers in MLB. I always have to flip back and forth. But Craig Counsell talked about how great the bullpen is. Bullpen was great. I mean, Gillespie was kind of a circus when he came in. He inherited a very sticky situation, had the bases loaded, he balked twice, balked in 2 runs. I mean, talk about a lot of things not going your way. You're pressed into action earlier than you were expecting because Kyle Hart could not find the strike zone. And we'll talk about Kyle Hart in a second. I planted my flag with Kyle Hart. I think he's going to be a good number 5 starter for the Padres. He didn't have it yesterday at all. Couldn't locate the fastball, and when he can't locate the fastball, he can't play off it with other pitches. He really goes off of getting guys swing and miss and chasing his off speed and his breaking stuff out of the zone, and he can use that playing off the fastball. But when he can't locate the fastball, a good hitting team like Chicago that has good batters or good hitters that have good eyes of the zone, they're going to spit on most of those pitches and they're going to walk. So when he's not locating a fastball, he's in trouble. And we'll get to Kyle Hart in a second. But what you can't teach is stuff. He's got stuff. His location was down. Pavetta's location over the weekend was bad. I mean, I think it was a grand total of 23 walks in the weekend. 23 walks in a weekend. That's some college baseball level crap right there. 23 walks. You cannot have that and win games. It's honestly a miracle that they came back from it and won yesterday with the amount of free passes they issued out. You can't issue that many free passes and expect to win baseball games, not at the major league level and not against a lineup like Chicago that's going to put up a lot of runs. You can't give away free passes. How do you stop a walk? You can't. You can't stop a walk. You can't stop a walk. It starts there. And so when you look at the back end of that rotation, it looked great the first weekend for San Diego. It did not look that great over the weekend against Chicago. Now, not to have excuses because they've already admitted they're not making excuses. Weather was terrible, windy. It's a real pain in the ass to pitch there. You're going against a really good lineup. I mean, there's some stipulations involved. And here's the other thing. You have to be patient with some of these players early on. At least you're winning, right? At least you're winning. I heard Ben Higgins talk about it at the beginning of the 9 o'clock hour, and I totally agree to a lot of things that Ben is saying about the whole, well, just because they're winning doesn't mean we can't make some tweaks. And I don't think they need to over-tweak some things, but I'm going to get into this later on the show. I don't think the Padres have a lot of success against left-handed hitters or left-handed pitching. That's a proven fact last year statistically. But when you look at their lineup, I think their lineup against lefties is not very good. It's just not very good. You have to, give guys like Yuli Gurriel an opportunity because you put him on the team. And in baseball, you have to be patient early on in the season. I don't know how much more patient you could be with a guy like Yuli Gurriel, who all he is getting paid to do right now is swing the stick and be in the lineup against left-handed hitters or left-handed pitchers. The Padres lineup against lefties is not very good. It's not good. I look at that and I'm like, oh, looks like they're pitching a lefty. First 2 days against lefties, Padres, couldn't really get a lot going. I have a question for and maybe other people in baseball can explain this to me better. And I do want to talk about this as well. Contact plays in baseball. I've never seen those work. I guess the idea is to put pressure on the team in the field to be able to make a good throw and make a good tag. But we got burned by a contact play twice over the weekend. I've seen it at every level, the contact play. It's like no chance. I've never seen it. I almost have never seen that play work. And maybe I have and I'm ignoring it, so I want to be open to this. If you're a baseball ex-player or anybody, and I know there's a lot of you out there that listen to the show, I want to know the details of a contact play. I mean, I'd love to sit down with Mike. Should be like, what are the metrics on contact plays? I'm just I don't have an answer to this. I'm just asking. And maybe Sammy can ask Mike Schilt when he's down in the clubhouse. What are the percentages of contact plays that make baseball teams want to run it? And I mean, like, you got a guy on third, the infield is in, and he's running as soon as the ball hits the bat. I want to know what the percentage are on that. Because as a football coach, like, we know percentages on when to go for it on fourth down, when to go for two, when to onside kick. All of them, when explained to me, have made sense, and now I use it when I manage, coaching high school football, which is way different. So I just would love to know the information because I feel like contact plays are worthless, but they're obviously successful because every team in baseball does it. It's not a Padres problem. Everybody in baseball does the contact plays. I just don't get them. I really don't. It's kind of like playing Russian roulette, as Prolific in the chat said. I kind of agree with that. I guess if you have a guy like Fernando at third base, it puts pressure on the infield to make, and they might make a bad throw. Like I just mentioned with the Justin Turner play. You add pressure, all of a sudden these guys, it's a lot more difficult for them to perform. But I don't get the contact play. I feel like Fernando puts pressure on teams anyway, even without a contact play. But I look back to, and I don't remember, I was listening to Jesse and Tony on the way up to Los Angeles for the USD UCLA series. And so I remember they ran it on Friday, but I can't remember exactly who the players were off the top of my head. But I do remember yesterday's contact play is you had Jackson Merrill at third base with one out, and the infield was in. And they go contact play, and Bogaerts hits a ground ball to the right side. Merrill gets cut down at first base. And so now you have two outs with Bogaerts at first instead of potentially two outs with just Jackson Merrill at third. And then Gavin Sheets was up next. He hit a single. It would have scored Merrill. Now, hindsight's 2020, but the contact play, wouldn't you rather have a guy at third base with two outs and a guy at first base with two outs? Like, to me, what is that? Does that send something to the guy on the on-deck circle? Like, we don't believe in you to get the hit? I just want to know. I'm not a huge contact play guy. We got a lot to talk about when it comes to the Padres. I want to get to your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We have updates on Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. Good updates for both of them. It sounds like they're going to throw a little bit in Sacramento this week for the 3-game series against the A's. We'll talk about that preview as well later on. I got a couple of comparisons. I mean, the national championships tonight. Why can't San Diego State be Houston? Why can't San Diego State be Houston? I'll lay that out later on in the show. We'll get to your phone calls as mentioned. We got a lot to get to, but when we come back, we're going to discuss a little bit further about this weekend series and the grit squad for the San Diego Padres. What I saw out of the team that I think is going to bode well for them throughout the rest of the year. We continue on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I'm Mike.
10:18 on a Monday morning. Feels a lot better when you take one out of the 3 games over the weekend in Chicago. You start looking at the way the Padres have played the first couple of games, and you're like, get in line for the World Series tickets. And then after the first 2 days in Chicago, it's, oh man, what's going on? And then the first inning that seemed like it was a disaster for Kyle Hart. All of a sudden, we got a lot to talk about here on a Monday. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Do want to get to your phone calls. We will also be back to some of the grit, as I mentioned before, that the Padres showed. And in the next segment, we'll talk about Kyle Hart. I'm pretty sure I got some social media scheduled today that's talking about it's me on the roundtable talking about Kyle Hart. I'll tell you why I'm still going to defend Kyle Hart in the next segment. We'll get to that. But I do want to get to your phone calls. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. So got to Scott and Del Mar. Scott, you're batting leadoff today. I need a double to the gap, my guy. What's going on?
What's going on? Maybe I'll get it over the fence for you. Hey, real quick, I just wanted to touch base. I appreciate what you do for the show. I appreciate what you do for San Diego. That's what I'm going to first say. But on that contact play, I run a college summer team. I train athletes here in San Diego. And
yeah, I need you to explain it to me. Why is this a good move? I bet you. I'll buy into what you have to say. I want to know the ins and outs. Talk to me like a coach.
Absolutely. So with the contact play specifically, what I will say on that is you have to have a runner that you can trust that is going to be smart, right? So contact play, ball right off the bat, he's got to go. But again, he's got to be quick like a Tatis, right? He's got to be have a little savvy. But again, you're not running it with your catcher. You're not running it with a guy that you don't trust. But
you're not running with Elias Diaz. You're not running it with some of the Machado, but you'll run it with Tatis, Merrill, guys that are fast but also savvy on the bases.
No doubt. But the biggest thing I will tell you that I'm gonna win you over with this point right here. So think about it: this guy hits the ball on the ground. There's one thing that happens right there: the ball's hit. Second thing, the guy at third or short, wherever it's hit, he has to catch it. He has to get the ball out of his glove. He has to throw it. There's 4 things. Then he has to make an accurate throw. There's 5 things. The catcher has to tag you or step on the bag. There's 6 things. The umpire has to call you safe or out. There's 7 different things that have to happen perfectly for you to go 90 feet. Now, again, we're not all perfect. We're not made perfectly. Only God is, okay? But what I tell you right now, baseball is the imperfect game for imperfect people. But what I will tell you is that is my take on that. Go Pods, let's go.
Well, I appreciate the explanation there, Scott. It makes a lot of sense from that perspective. Now, I think where it just looks like it fails all the time is when you play at the major league level, there's a lot more, wouldn't say perfect players, but there's guys at the major league level that are so good that it's very they can do a lot of those things where I feel like at the lower levels is probably a lot more successful. But as you mentioned, it kind of puts the pressure on the infielders to be able to field the ground ball, be able to pull the ball out of the glove, be able to throw a good, deliver a strike to the catcher. Catcher's got to catch, tag, or be on the base. So I kind of understand that from that perspective. It just feels like it never works. It just feels like it never works. But those are the risks that you take. Honestly, if you think about it now from that perspective, and I appreciate Scott for that perspective, you've got a guy like Jackson Merrill at third base or Fernando Tatis Jr., you like your chances a lot with being a little bit more aggressive. It's more of an aggressive play and then instead of a safety play, right? Because if you don't do it on the other side, if you do what I said, don't do the contact play and you let Jackson stay at third base and then you go ground out and then ground out, then you strand a runner at third. At least you're trying to be aggressive and force some action. So it's playing aggressively on the contact play. But I think it's an interesting topic. I feel like a lot of defenses in Major League Baseball, though, and a lot of infielders in baseball can handle the contact play. But I think we just miss it sometimes when the guy zoos a throw over the catcher's head, and we just think about how dynamic it was for Fernando to make a play. But in reality, that's the time that the contact play is working. I saw the side. I understand. I didn't need it. I needed explanation. I kind of figured it was kind of a pressure thing, but that made a lot of sense. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Brett Mount Helix, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, Brett?
Braden, what's up, my man? Hey, okay, I'll preface it by saying I am not a coach, although I do understand what I believe Scott, what he just said. I get it. I'm glad you brought this up because I was watching the game yesterday, uh, and I was screaming, cussing out loud at that play. That just it irked me because I get it. I understand the pressure. That's all fine and dandy. The bottom line is if the infield is in, and like you said, the bottom line is, hey, if you risk keeping a man at third and stranding a runner, or at the same time, look what happened. Gavin Sheets comes up, hits a single, boom, there's your go-ahead run. Or at that time, I don't know if it was a tying run, but either way, we didn't have to wait for the error in the ninth to win that game. And I just think I just thought it was very stupid overall. I'm glad you brought that up, Braden.
Well, I appreciate that, Brett. Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing when I was watching the game, and Brett, appreciate the phone call. But I you know what? You want to be aggressive with it, or do you not? The thing that makes it, I think, more frustrating for Padres fans is the fact that Sheets 2 batters later end up getting a hit. But you can't view it like that. You have to view it about in the moment, right? Because that's what the play was in the moment. So, I mean, you could say it was dumb to run the contact play because it didn't work, and then Sheets 2 batters later got a knock. But the reality is, you don't know that information. Hindsight's 2020. So you got to be thinking about it from a perspective of when the play is happening, what are we going to do? And with a guy like Jackson Merrill and his ability to be dynamic on the base pass like a Fernando Tatis Jr., there's a couple of players for the Padres you're thinking it's going to create some extra pressure. I mean, you guys have seen it when Fernando's on base, what the other teams do that are paid professionals that are very good at their job. They get nervous when Fernando's out there on the base paths, and they do dumb things. So I can see why that the contact play is something that will be part of the repertoire. Here's how you view it. Do you want to be – this is how you have to understand that situation. Don't look at it as a sense of Sheets got to hit two batters later, and it would have worked out. That's looking at it from a hindsight perspective. My question for you as fans when you watch these games, do you want Mike Schilt to be aggressive, or do you want him to play more conservative? Because to me, and I'm sure some coaches out there will correct me if I'm wrong, to me, the contact play is an aggressive play, which goes with that aggressive mindset that the Padres have had on the base pass. We talked about that after opening day and opening week, how much we loved as a fan base the aggressiveness of the San Diego Padres. Well, these are times where the aggression doesn't work. It's not going to work every time. So you look at the aggressive base running, right? The stolen bases. You look at trying to get an extra bag on a base hit. And you look at the contact play as being an aggressive play. Do you want the Padres to be aggressive and go after it, or do you want them to play more conservative? That's the question. So the aggressive play was contact play. They got thrown out. You know what? If we're going to fail, we're going to fail aggressively. Or you want to play it conservative, it might have worked out. It might have worked out for them in terms of scoring a run in that particular instance. But to me, I'd rather have the Padres play a little bit quicker. I like the aggression. I like them going after it. What a great comeback it was yesterday for the Padres. Shouldn't have had to be a comeback because of the starting pitching. Kyle Hart was it was a zoo yesterday. But I'm going to tell you why I'm going to stick with him and why I think he's going to be able to bounce back when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:33 on a Monday morning. Padres get a victory yesterday. I will say, even though they lost twice over the weekend, I have yet to start a show in which the Padres lost the day before. We've been on a nice little stretch. So hopefully that continues tonight in Sacramento against the Athletics. Don't call us the Sacramento A's. Don't give us the Sacramento A's. That might be a home run derby tonight in the next couple of days. Don't be surprised if the ball leaves the yard in Sacramento. Did you guys see the scores between the Cubs and the A's last week in Sacramento? I mean, insane. Absolutely insane. Levels of, like, the scoring was just through the roof. Home runs galore. Cubs players hitting for the cycle. Pad some stats this week, boys. Let's pad some offensive stats. And I will say this, we're going to get into this a little bit later in the next hour. I'm not a big believer in this lineup that they have against left-handed pitching. It's only been, 10 games? So you can't overreact to this. But I just feel like the lineups, when the lineup comes out against the left-handed pitcher for the Padres, I just immediately deflate. I immediately deflate. You're like, oh, okay. I guess Yuli's in, and I don't mind Lockridge. I think Lockridge is a good player, but it's like, oh, Lockridge is in. Look at the... Not as excited as when it's the lineup for his right-handers. I've seen... they look like they have produced better on the lineups of the right-handers. That's just from watching games. I haven't looked at it. I haven't taken a deep dive into the numbers yet. But I just feel like the left-handed... And Iglesias isn't playing a lot. Like, you don't want to put him in? I understand the Yuli Gurriel thing. You got to give him some time. I would imagine, and Dennis Lin mentioned this, and it's probably the case. I mean, as long as they continue to win, they're going to give Yuli Gurriel and Jason Hayward a long time. They're going to give them at least a Memorial Day to see what they have. And in baseball, you have to do that. It's only been 10 games. And when you look at, and it's funny, at the gym this morning, one of the trainers, Jeff, he was like, how do you go through an entire 162-game season talking about every game? I mean, it's only been 10 games. You still got, 152 to go. But, and I go, like, you have to try to view things in kind of groupings in terms of overall performance over a stretch of period of time. You can't go like day by day, every single day. It's going to wear you out. I've mentioned that before. You can't have this NFL level mentality when you go watch baseball games every day. You just can't do it. You're going to go insane. Your blood pressure is going to be through the roof. You're going to have to go see your doctor. You have to view it over a period of time, and especially in a game that's built on failure. It's a failure game. Guys that fail 70% of the time at the plate become Hall of Famers. So with the game of failure and with the metrics of you need larger sample sizes in order to make a verdict on players, you can't have knee-jerk reactions after the first 10 games of the season. We do it on the radio because it's fun. You can do the overreactions after the first 10 games, overreactions after the first day. I mean, you could overreact over the weekend. Dodgers lost 2 out of 3 to the Phillies. Maybe the Phillies are actually the best team in Major League Baseball. Are the Giants the best team in the National League West? They're in first place right now. I mentioned that, and all of you are going to just roll your eyes. Well, the Giants, maybe they're the team to beat in the division. Maybe they're better than the Dodgers and the Padres. You'd be like, oh, give me a break. It's too early. There's a couple of things with baseball in the too early statuses. It's not too early to try to rack up wins because these games matter just as much as the games at the end of the season. It's very important to get off to a hot start. But it is too early to start crowning champions and start crowning, players and start cutting players. You have to give them some time. So when you look at it and you look at, and I was kind of shocked on the Yuli Gurriel thing in general. But in fairness to Yuli Gurriel and putting him on the team, in fairness to the Padres, you have to let the guy play. And he's got to be able to play for the next couple of weeks in order for you to get an idea of whether or not he's going to be able to make it through the season. You have to give it time. You can't just go like, all right, well, we don't like this guy, so he's gone. And then all of a sudden it, might work out for him somewhere else. That being said, I don't think anybody else is going to pick him up, but you have to give him time in the lineup. And again, I'm not saying it's a hot take. I mean, people are trolling me in the chat. Breaking news. Hot take. Padres struggle against lefties. I think they struggle against lefties because I think their left-handed lineup's not very good. They just don't have the good enough players in there. Which asked the question last week on the roundtable about Gavin Sheets. Like, do you let the guy play against left-handers because he's a hot bat right now, or do you let him continue to do what he's doing? And as Tony Gwynn would always say, know who you is. I mean, Gavin Sheets knows his role in the team. He's doing a great job of being that guy. But you look at other times in Padres history, I mean, I think the first name that comes to mind is a guy like Seth Smith. I mean, Seth Smith, when he was brought into San Diego, was that 2012, 2013? I can't even remember off the top of my head. He was brought in to be like a bat off the bench, kind of a spot guy, like a role player. And in the first game against the Dodgers on opening night, it was a night game on Sunday Night Baseball, but it wasn't a Sunday. I forgot what it was. Seth Smith hit a 2-run bomb and ended Brian Wilson's career. We never saw Brian Wilson ever again. The Taco Bell commercials with him being crazy with his beard were gone. Seth Smith, knock, see ya, Brian Wilson. Didn't see him ever again. And then all of a sudden, Seth Smith turned into, I think it was an all-star. I think he was a Padres all-star that year. It turned into their 3-hitter. It's a little bit different because the team wasn't very good. But I look at that and go, I understand, like, protecting some of these guys from giving them too much. But you look at Gavin Sheets and the way he's playing, I feel like that guy needs to be in the lineup all the time. He needs to be in the lineup all the time. And so you play that righty-lefty matchup, and I feel like just a couple of tweaks there could probably boost your opportunity. I think there's something to be said about not letting guys, left-handed hitters go against lefties. I think that really was a detriment to a lot of players, that the Dodgers had for a long time with guys like Cody Bellinger and Jock Peterson. They wouldn't even let them try to go against left-handers. But the left-handed hitting right now, and we'll get to it a little bit later. The left-handed or the lineups against left-handed pitching, it's not that great of a lineup. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk about the starting rotation. And the first time through, Padres looked really good in the starting rotation. I mean, really, really good. Everybody contributed. Everybody had a really good outing. A couple of shutouts mixed in there as well. And it looked like the Padres had the rotation and the depth that they needed to go out there and make it to the playoffs and not have to worry about it. Oh, it looks like we got enough depth. I think Kyle Hart, number 5 starter, was going to put the Padres in a really good spot. But yesterday, oh my Lord, yesterday was not a good outing for Kyle Hart at all. He went out there and he got 2/3 of an inning. And that was it. And now as a number 5 starter, you're not asking much. You're not asking a ton from the number 5 starter. You're asking him to go out there, get you 4 to 5 innings, keep the runs below 3, and we got a chance to go out there and win. But when you look at what Kyle Hart did yesterday, he goes 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks. Not a great outing. He got his first Major League win in his first outing of 2025. And then he goes out there in his second start in a place. And again, the guy's from Cincinnati. He's not, and he mentioned this in his post-game conversations, that weather's not an excuse. He feels comfortable in the weather. He said he couldn't locate his fastball. And with not being able to locate his fastball, he couldn't play off his other stuff. And he's trying to find different areas to kind of, either hone in on other pitches. And the Cubs, once they realized that Hart wasn't locating his fastball, they got conservative at the plate. and they were taking the walks. They were putting together good at bats. You have to credit Chicago. There's a lot of teams that are bad teams that would start chasing and go up there with that mentality of I got to go get mine right now. Cubs didn't do that. They walked 4 times against Kyle Hart. You can't stop a walk. Another 8 walks issued by San Diego pitching yesterday. And 23 walks over the weekend. That's not going to win you a lot of games. In fact, it only won you 1 game over the weekend. It's crazy that they were able to even win 1 game with the amount of free passes that the Padres gave out. But to go back to Kyle Hart, you can't teach stuff, and he's got stuff. But what you can teach and tweak is locating and command. And there's a couple tweaks in there, I think, with Ruben Niebla that you can have Kyle Hart locate a little bit more. I mean, a lot of Kyle Hart's success is getting you to chase out of the zone. But in order for you to chase out of the zone, you got to pump in some strikes. And he wasn't doing that at all. He threw 39 pitches, only 18 strikes. That is stuff that I see calling college games all the time. But those are children. They're college kids. And all the best pitchers out of high school get drafted and go to the pros early on. And then on top of that, a lot of the best pitchers in college baseball are on like 2 or 3 teams. And then you start looking at what's left for everybody else. You're going to get a lot of walks. And it's funny, I was talking to the pitching coach at USD yesterday about the way the game is going at the major league level and what they have noticed with pitching. With offenses trying to get more slug and try to put the ball in the air and trying to hit the gaps and trying to, really go for that slug stuff. When you have those type of hitters and that's their goal, you have to go with more pitchers that you believe that they have better stuff, and you'll take their stuff over a pitcher that might not have it but can throw strikes. Because the guy that throws strikes, eventually that ball is going to leave the yard, or that ball is going to be hit into the gap with the with the offensive philosophy of all the big league clubs that have now moved down to the college level. And so it's the same thing at the college level. They don't mind going after players that have a nasty slider and can move the ball on their fastball and throw high velo, even if they can't throw strikes. We'll take it. And the days that they don't throw strikes are just going to be tough days. And the days they do throw strikes, we can slow down an offense that is trying to hit the ball to the gap, that is trying to put the ball over the fence, that is trying to go for the high slugging percentage, which is what a lot of baseball teams are trying to do. I mean, if Hart was getting rocked all over the field, I think you would have a little bit more cause for concern. Him not throwing strikes, I think you can work with a little bit, and you can tweak it. But if he continues to not throw strikes in the next couple of weeks, then yeah, you can't go with Kyle Hart as a number 5 starter. He has to be able to throw strikes. Because, again, you can't stop a walk. But I think that's something that could be tweaked. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal for the Padres. Now, his next start, if he goes out there and walks the bases loaded again and has a walk fest, I think you could start getting concerned a little bit about Kyle Hart, because now you have to start worrying about the rest of your rotation and the rotation depth. You got Matt Waldron hopefully coming back sooner rather than later as he tries to work his way back. You have Stephen Kolek down in the minor leagues that you can play off of as well. But when you don't have Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove's banged up for the year, and you start to lose a little bit on that starting pitching, this really shows the lack of starting pitching depth that the Padres have based on the way the starters threw all weekend. It's not just Kyle Hart. I mean, Pivetta wasn't very good either. Again, the walks were killing San Diego. You have to be able to throw strikes at the major league level. I mean, again, I see this at the college baseball level all the time with all the walks. 23 walks in a weekend series, not crazy to see at the college baseball level. That is insane to see at the major league level. You can't stop a walk. You look at Pivetta against Chicago on Saturday. He also struggled with command. He's got good stuff. He also had 4 walks. Now, he did get out of the first inning, but 3 innings, 3 earned runs, 6 hits, 3 walks, 4 punch-outs. He gave up 1 home run. 4 walks. And then Omar Cruz comes in, and he gives up 4 walks. Other than that, the bullpen was pretty good. The long relief guys were okay, but the bullpen was pretty good. You look at the starting pitching, really put you behind the 8 ball all weekend. And again, it's with the command and it's with the walks. You look at Friday's start for Randy Vasquez. He actually looked the best out of the group. Randy Vasquez had the best numbers out of the group on Friday. And what was a 3-1 game with the Padres having multiple opportunities to win said game on Friday morning here on the West Coast. But Vasquez walked 5. 5 walks out of your starting pitcher on Friday, 4 walks out of your starting pitcher on Saturday, 4 walks out of your starting pitcher on Sunday. 9 walks for starting pitching. And then after that, on Friday, Jacob had a walk and Wandy Peralta had a walk. It's going to happen. But 9 walks out of your starting pitching is a good way to not win baseball games. And what it shows is that grit that the Padres have and coming back and not being fazed by being in a deficit or having multiple events not go their way. I mean, the first inning was off the rails for San Diego yesterday, and bad teams would have rolled over and died, and good teams find a way to manage it and get back a little bit. I think Logan Gillespie did a really good job in keeping that game as close as he needed to be. That first inning, he was a circus. That was a circus inning for everybody involved in the pitching staff with the 4 walks and the 2 balks. I mean, Chicago scored 5 runs on 2 stinking hits. 4 walks and 2 balks. But then after that, Gillespie had a mistake pitch to Kyle Tucker, but he really did a good job of just preventing it from unraveling. That does a really good... That does wonders for an offense waiting to go out there and swing. There's nothing more deflating than going up there, maybe getting a couple runs back, and then seeing your pitcher give up another 3 or 4 runs in the next inning. It just goes, you go up the bat going, okay, all right. This isn't working for us. It's hard to keep the focus. It's hard to keep with the plan to keep chipping away at it when you continue to just let runs unravel. You got to be a stopgap in there. And I thought the bullpen for the San Diego Padres did great. Craig Counsell mentioned that in his postgame about the back end of the bullpen for San Diego was one of their biggest strengths. We thought we were going to avoid them, and we ended up getting to a point where we could not avoid them, and they really shut us down. It's 100% true. I mean, the Cubs scored all their runs in the first 2 innings. It might not look like that in a stat sheet of the pitching staff of the Padres, but the fact that Chicago scored 7 runs in the first 2 innings and then you shut them down the rest of the way, that's a really good nod to your bullpen, including Gillespie. Gillespie did great. 4 innings, he did allow the 2 earned runs on the homer, 3 hits, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. I know he had the box in that first inning, but if you don't, the first inning just got so out of hand, it's hard to evaluate. But Gillespie did a great job coming in. Morahone didn't allow a hit. Estrada didn't allow a hit. Adam let up 1 hit, and Suarez shut it down in the 9th. The Padres bullpen is going to be a main reason why they have success in 2025, and I think they showed it over the weekend, and that's a big reason why they won yesterday. You could talk about the offense with the comeback. You could talk about them getting 2 runs in the 4th and a run in the 5th and another run in the 8th and just chipping away. They did their job, but the bullpen did their job as well. And that's why the Padres ended up going 8-2 to start the year. Should Kyle Hart be the number 5 starter? I've laid it out. Again, I think you got to keep running out with that guy. I think a little bit of fastball command, didn't have his stuff. That happens all the time. But you got to give him some time to be able to go out there and show what he's got. I thought you saw a brief moment of it. I think he still should be the starter after yesterday. People are I put it out on a poll on 97.3 The Fan SD. Right now, 55% say no, 44% say yes. But you start looking at the comments, and some of the comments in the poll are great, and I totally agree. You got to give him a couple more chances. He had one really good outing and then one not so great outing, but it's not like everybody else looked good this weekend for the pitching staff of the Padres. I mean, the Padres didn't play that great over the weekend, offensively and defensively. You saw from the second inning on, or really the third inning on for the Padres on Sunday's game, them playing really well. But aside from that, it's not like Kyle Hart just ruined the weekend. Nathan on Twitter, NBarian619, the entire starting staff had issues this weekend. Wasn't just him. Too much of a jump to conclusion bit from fans. He was the best thing ever after one start. Then we need to dump him after another. I totally agree. You can't over-evaluate every single outing. You're going to go insane. Or you're going to make very dumb emotional decisions. So a lot of people go like, you got to cut him loose. You got to be able to replace him. You can go with Kolek. Kolek gets lit up, and then what do you go to? You go with Waldron. Waldron gets lit up, then what do you go to? I mean, you just can't just keep replacing guys over and over again. There's going to be good starts, and there's going to be bad starts throughout the entire season for everybody in the starting rotation. And again, as mentioned before, Vasquez, he looked the best out of the weekend. He walked 5 batters. Nick Pivetta only went 3 innings. He walked 4 batters and gave up a bomb. I mean, it's not like the Padres starting staff was very good on the back end. Can't just drop them from the rotation after one bad outing. I mean, what is it? That sets a very bad precedent to everybody else on the team. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I'll have an update on Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove when we come back. Plus, how could the Padres flip what they're doing against left-handers? We'll talk about that. And then 11 o'clock hour on the Braden Surprenant Show on Setting Someone Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. 11 o'clock hour on the Braden Surprenant Show. Padres win yesterday in a thrilling comeback fashion, 8-7 over the Chicago Cubs. Gave up 7 runs in the first 2 innings and then slowly chipped away up to ultimately an 8-7 victory to take 1 from Chicago. It's kind of a rough start to the weekend for the Padres. They lost on Friday. I thought Friday's game was Padres were in a spot where they were good enough. They were good enough to win that game, close enough to win. I thought Friday's game was the ultimate that's baseball game for the Padres. Just not a lot of things working out for San Diego in that particular game. I mean, Xander hit a ball early in that game that the wind took away that was probably going to be a home run in most stadiums with his exit velo and where he hit it. And the wind just killed it. I mean, you had multiple at-bats like that out of Padres hitters. Offense or defensively for the Padres, not that great either. But the ball didn't bounce your way. It's going to happen. You won your first 7 games. Forget it. Saturday's game a lot different against Chicago. Again, Nick Pivetta only went 3 innings. He walked 4 batters, as mentioned before. It tough sledding out of the gate. Dug yourself into a hole. It got to a 7-1 mark, and then ended up being a 7-1 final. It's hard to continually put up runs when the other team just slowly adds as the game goes on. And then Sunday, I thought you really saw what this team is capable of doing for the entire season. That grit squad mentality, that grit squad that Mike Shildt calls his boys. And honestly, I kind of agree with it. I mean, last year I didn't think they were that gritty at the beginning of the season last year when Mike Shildt was talking about it. But I definitely believe that now. I mean, I think that they proved it yesterday. I think with the players that they have and the veterans that they have, as well as the young players that have that edge, I think they really do a good job of putting together comebacks and not being phased. I mean, that comes with veteran leadership. That comes with experience. And when this group is together like they are right now, I mean, that's what you're going to get. So, on really good performance yesterday out of the Padres. Bullpen stepped up all weekend. They looked pretty sharp, even in the game that didn't go their way on Saturday. And then offensively, got a good production out of your guys that are usually competing. I put the poll out there. It's getting a lot of love right now on social media in terms of should Kyle Hart still be the number 5 starter after yesterday. I've had almost 300 people vote in it. If you want to vote in it, at 97 through the Fan SD, 53% say no, 46% say yes. I mean, it's pretty close to 50-50 right now on some reaction from some of these guys or from the fans about Kyle Hart. I think a lot of people are having the level head right now of understanding that you have to give him a couple of starts. I mean, we got a guy in the chat that just wants the guy kicked out of San Diego permanently. He's going to burn the bullpen. It's terrible. It's terrible. We'll see. We'll see. I think you got to give him another opportunity. Now, his next opportunity will be against the Rockies at some point over the weekend. So that will be Saturday. He'll start Saturday against the Rockies. At least that's what he's in line to do. And on Saturday against the Rockies, if he gets roughed up, I think you could start talking about it a little bit. I mean, but Waldron wasn't that particularly great either last year at the beginning of the year before he really settled in. They didn't have the luxury of pulling anybody else up to replace Matt Waldron, and so they gave Matt Waldron more opportunities, and it ended up working out for him. Guy's coming over from the KBO. It's be a little bit of adjustment time, and the guy can't be perfect out of the gate. And he had a good start in the first start of the season for the Padres against Cleveland. Then this didn't have it on Sunday against Chicago. But if you want to vote in the poll at 97 through the Fan SD, if you want to weigh in on the show, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll talk more about that as the afternoon continues. Be sure to follow me on social media at B_SURP at BSURP. Follow us everywhere else on social media, B_SURP. on Instagram, TikTok, and on X. You can also follow me on YouTube as well, where we are streaming live on the YouTube videos. We have it on 97 through the Fan, as well as at B_SURP. If you are watching on the Fan right now, if you haven't done so already, give us a like. Give us a like to get going on that. We'd really appreciate it. Helps with the pushing it out to other entities. So give us a like on the YouTube page. Back to some updates for you on the San Diego Padres. We got an update on Yu Darvish from Kevin Acee. It was in his long article today as he's traveling from Chicago to Sacramento. It came out today. I don't know if he wrote it last night. He wrote it on his layover. But this is what he had to say about Yu Darvish. Starting pitcher Yu Darvish has reached 150 feet in his catch play at Petco Park and could make a move to the mound in the coming days, which is good news. His elbow continues to feel strong and pain-free, according to people in the organization. Darvish was shut down in mid-March and began the season on the injured list. Timeline for his return remains unknown as the Padres are deferring to Darvish as they remain committed to being cautious with the 38-year-old right-hander. That's great news. Again, with Yu Darvish and allowing him to really decide when he wants to come back. What time of the... I'm going to ask most fans here, and you can tweet at me your answer, or you can call into the show, or you can put it in the chat for all the people watching on YouTube. When do you want Yu Darvish at his best during the season? When do you want him at his best? Do you want him at his best in July? Do you want him on his best in May? Do you want him on his best in August? Do you want him at his best in September? Or do you want him at his best in October? In Game 3 of a divisional series against the Los Angeles Dodgers? When do you want him at his best? I want him at his best in the playoffs. I don't necessarily need answers from you guys on that. I think most people would understand. Some people are like, maybe September, kind of build up. No, at his best, at his peak. He can be ramping up in September. That's fine. I want to see him at his best in October. And I need him to give me 3 or 4 starts in October at his best. And so if that means he's going to take past Memorial Day and into June to be ready, so be it. I don't really care. We will survive with the assets that we have, with what our faculties will allow. We'll piece together with Kyle Hart and Stephen Kolek and Matt Waldron when he comes back. I need Yu Darvish at his best in October. And here's the thing. When the guy's 38 years old, you're not getting prime Darvish. You need about maybe 20 starts out of him throughout the year. So, no, all of the above is not a choice. You have to pick what time of the year you want him at his best. And that's what you're going to get out of this guy. And I trust that he knows his body the best. I think he does an excellent job on keeping himself healthy at his age, for as demanding as he is on his arm with all the pitches that he throws, with his rehab, with his training, his eating, everything like that. The guy is beyond a pro's pro, and that's why the Padres entrust that, all right, whenever you feel like you're ready to come back, we're ready to have you back. Just let us know when you feel good. So the fact that he's already at 150, he's already reached 150 feet throwing, the fact that he might be going to a mound relatively soon, I think these are all good news tidbits that you're getting from the Padres. And I think the biggest thing on this, too, is when you saw at the beginning this report about elbow issues, you just wanted to make sure he was still able to throw, didn't get shut down again, no setbacks, and nothing where it was like the next day all of a sudden he needs Tommy John surgery or something insane. So the fact that he's been able to build up, he feels good. He hasn't had any pain in his elbow, I think, is all the good news you need to hear. And now you can let him come back at his own pace. They're going to be able to make the playoffs without Darvish in the regular season. The Padres are good enough to do that. What I saw on Sunday with their offense shows me that they can do that. What I saw with their bullpen shows me that they can do that. Now, if you can't get innings out of some of your starting pitchers, you might be in a little bit of a problem. But I think they're going to be able to get innings out of their starting pitching, and they're going to make the playoffs. I've seen enough out of these guys early on. Right, I know without anything catastrophically bad happening, they are a good enough team where they can do it without you and make the playoffs without you, Darvish. If you want to look at it from a pessimistic standpoint and say they're totally screwed without him, go ahead. You're going to have a miserable time in the next 3 or 4 months. And there's a lot of you out there that love being miserable when the Padres are miserable. I'm trying to change that mindset a little bit for you guys. Enjoy yourself watching the game. Don't watch it because you love being miserable. I don't understand that mentality. I don't get it. I've never understood it. I see it a lot. Just people just love it. And I get called negative all the time. I don't think I'm that negative. But the insane negativity from some fans out there about just everything. It's just, guys, relax. They're 10 games into the season. I was fully expecting to get a phone call today at some point or somebody in the chat going like, well, the Padres if they didn't go to Starbucks before yesterday's game, they would have got off to a better start. Fully anticipating that. It's 10 games. They're 8-2. You couldn't have asked for a better start. I know you're behind the Giants by a half game, technically, but I'm not really believing the Giants or where they're at right now. You know what else I'm not believing? I'm not necessarily believing the lineup against left-handed pitching. We need to talk about that a little bit and what the Padres need to do moving forward. As again, it's only 10 games in, but as compared to the starting pitching, which I think there's some bright signs to move everything in the right direction with the back end of the rotation. With the left-handed lineup, I think it's time to start making some tweaks. We'll talk about that when we come back. Braden Surprenant, Show Standings, #1 Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. Hot take for you. Not really. By the way, Blue Meanie, you're probably watching on the other stream that doesn't have the chat on there. So go over to the 97.3 page if you'd like to do that. We're going to look at a lot of numbers right now with the Padres in terms of against lefties and righties. And again, the lineup is to me is just not the lefty righty matchup thing to me. I honestly, and somebody was giving me crap for saying hot take Padres can't hit a lefty. It's not where I'm at on this. That's not the hot take. I think lefty-righty matchups at the major league level to an extent is one of the most overrated things in baseball. I honestly think it's incredibly overrated. I mean, there's guys out there that could do a lot of damage against the other side or like the same side of the arm angle that don't have an opportunity to do so. So I've pulled up the numbers again. I just feel like the lineup that the Padres put together to face a left-hander is not more beneficial than just having the usual lineup that you have against right-handers go against a lefty, even though there's a lot of lefties involved. Now, I know the matchups there. You don't like having a lefty come out of the bullpen and face three lefties in a row, right? You try to mix and match as much as you can. But I look at some of the numbers. And again, it's early on. Like Luis Arias has seen the most pitches from a left-hander all year. He's hitting 333 against lefties with a 291 expected batting average. He hasn't barreled the ball yet. He's got a 267 BABIP. I mean, he's not doing that poor. For a guy's a left-handed hitter. He's a little bit different, though. The guy's won 3 batting titles. He obviously can hit both sides of the rock. Manny Machado's hitting 333 as a righty. Fernando's hitting 273 against a lefty. Jackson Merrill, he's not hitting that great against left-handed pitching, but he's still hitting 235 against left-handed pitching, and his expected batting average is actually 273. Slugging is 529. Guys hit 3 barrels off a lefty. Now, his batting average on balls in plays is to 214, but you need Jackson Merrill in the lineup every single day. You look at some of the batters that come in, right? You let Jake Cronenworth hit every day. Jake Cronenworth's actually doing a pretty good job against lefties this year. Small sample size, 267 average with a 600 slug. His expected weighted on-base average is at 255. Sustainable. He's had a barrel. He's hitting 300 for his batting average on balls in play. He's actually doing pretty well against left-handers. Who are the players that come in specifically to take on lefties that get the start? And I understand Mike Shildt wants to utilize as much of his players as possible, but it's Brandon Lockridge and it's Yuli Gurriel. Those are the 2 players that come in and start ball games against left-handed pitching. Does anybody want to tell me how many hits Yuli Gurriel has against a left-handed hitter this year? Anybody want to tell me that? You want to tweet at me? You want to put it in the chat? You want to call? How many hits does Yuli Gurriel have against a left-handed pitcher this season? I'll tell you. I got the same amount of hits as Yuli Gurriel against a left-handed pitcher this season. 0. Small sample size. I still think you got to give him some time. All right, Bob, we got it, Bo. We got it, bro. Put the fries in the bag, my guy. You got to give Yuli some time. In fairness to Yuli, you're still winning, but that leash needs to be shortened a little bit. Yuli Gurriel's numbers against a left-handed pitcher. Again, this guy is specifically getting paid to hit left-handed pitching. That's what he's getting paid to do. He's not getting paid to play in the field. He's not getting paid to go against right-handers because they got Gavin Sheets, who's knocking the crap out of the ball. This guy's specifically getting paid to hit left-handed pitching. That's all his job is on the Padres. He's got no hits. He's got an expected batting average of 0.35, so he got robbed once. His on-base percentage is 0.77. His expected on-base is 115. His weighted on-base average is 053. His expected weighted on base average is 088. He hasn't barreled a single ball, and he's hitting 0 on his batting average on balls in play. His exit velo on average against left-handed pitching has been 80.5 miles an hour. I understand you got to try to you got to give him an opportunity. It's a game of failure. I get that. But what is Yuli Gurriel doing against left-handed pitching that Connor Joe can't do? What is it? We already know what Connor Joe can do in general. We already know in the last 3 seasons, he has statistically outplayed Yuli Gurriel every single season since 2022. In 2021, Yuli Gurriel won a batting title. It has been a long time since Yuli Gurriel won a batting title. So you look at Yuli Gurriel and you look at, he starts against left-handers. He doesn't hit lefties. I don't mind Brandon Lockridge. I think he's has an opportunity to be a good baseball player. I mean, not like an all-star, but I think he's very serviceable. I like his speed. I like his ability to play in the outfield. I think he could do some good things with the Padres, but he's another guy that is hitting against left-handed pitching, right? He's the righty that hits against left-handed pitching. And again, you want to use as many of your guys as possible. But Brandon Lockridge is hitting 125 against left-handers. His on-base percentage is high. It's 300. Slugs 250. It's not like the worst, but it's not great. His batting average on balls in play is 167. Why isn't Jose Iglesias in the lineup against left-handers? You look at Jose Iglesias, he's only seen 14 pitches against a lefty this year. So not a lot of opportunities. But he's hitting 500. Now, his expected batting average is 30. So it's not like, he got lucky on his knock that he got, technically, according to the stats. On-base percentage high, 667. He's got some inflated numbers. His batting average on balls in play is 1,000 against lefty, but it's very small. He got lucky on the knock that he got, but I don't know why he's not getting more opportunity. What is Yuli doing that Iglesias cannot do? Gavin Sheets has only seen 11 pitches from left-handed batters. 11. He has not gotten a hit. He's got 0 across the board, but he hasn't even been given an opportunity. So when the guy in front of him is getting opportunity and has the same number of hits as Gavin, who's not getting any opportunity against left-handed pitching, why not let Gavin Sheets DH a couple of times against the lefty and just give him a chance? I think you can move some things around, but like the 2 games you lost over the weekend were to left-handed pitchers, and the lineup was just not very good. I haven't even talked about Jason Hayward yet. He actually does well against lefties, but he only had, he's had one plate appearance. The 2. He's hitting 500. He hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity. But you look at Jason Hayward against right-handers, his batting average is 063. The same thing is on the other side. Jason Hayward doesn't start against lefties. He starts against righties. He gets paid to hit against righties. He's hitting 063 with an expected batting average of 123. So it's not like he's not getting lucky. His batting average on balls in play is 083. That is awful. He's only had 1 barrel with a 208 expected weighted on base average. It's a guy that you can't rely with a lot. So there's a couple of these players, again, I think the leash is longer with Hayward because you gave him $1 million. And at least with Hayward, you get some positives out of Hayward. You're not upset about his fielding. His fielding's good. It's not great like it used to be. He's a good fielder. He does things well on the bases. He's a good leadership guy. He's a good clubhouse guy. I mean, there's some things that you expect to get out of Hayward. Like, you're not expecting Hayward to be one of the best 5 hitters on the team. He does need to be a little bit better, and it's only been 10 games. So I'm going to give Hayward the benefit of the doubt. But the Yuli Gurriel thing really is crazy to me. Yuli's one of his only hits, if it's not his only hit, is against a right-handed pitcher anyway. So the conversation to me, I think, is about Sheets being an everyday player, at least to see what it's like. I mean, Sheets is hitting .435 right now against right-handed pitching. 500 batting average on balls in play. Average exit velo is 92.1. That's second best on the team. Hard hit percentage is 52%. That's in the top 3 on the team. I mean, he is doing such a great job against right-handers. Why not give him a chance, especially since Yuli's not really doing anything anyway? I think you got another week of doing this. And then after that, you got to start mixing in Sheets, and you got to start thinking about Connor Joe. Because the lineup against lefties right now is not good. It's not good. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Braden Surprenant Show rolling on. MLB.com put out together the new power rankings. Are the Giants the best team in the National League West? We'll talk about that and where the Padres are at when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 11:35 on a Monday. Today's a national championship for college basketball. We were just talking about it off air. We might briefly talk about it at noon just because I think there's a major comparison that could be made between San Diego State and Houston. If Houston wins the national championship in basketball tonight, you can ask the question, why not San Diego State? Now, they're in the exact same position San Diego State was in a couple years ago. But I look at San Diego State and I look at Houston, they're like the same school. They have a lot of similarities and comparisons. I'm sure there's going to be little, and the know-it-alls in the chat will find little marks that make it like, well, technically this. If you look at the grand scheme of things of what Houston does and what they are as a university, and you look at San Diego State, all of the excuses that San Diego State usually has for why they can't do something is the same excuses that Houston also has, yet here they are. So we'll talk about that at noon. Kind of preview the national championship a little bit. But at the same time, I think there's a lot to be learned from Houston. If you're San Diego State, if you want to be at the next level, if you want to be a power program. Houston's done it in 3 years now in the Big 12. Now, they've always had a good basketball program. It comes with coaching, and I think San Diego State's got good coaching too with Brian Dutcher. But in terms of resources and programming, we're talking football, basketball. I mean, baseball is not technically one of those big sports, but even then, Houston found a way into a power conference. San Diego State still doing their deal. And remember with Houston is the little brother of Texas. The reason why Houston was never in the Big 12 was because of Texas and Texas A&M. So again, it's the same kind of situation. The only difference now is Houston did get let into the conference in the Big 12 that still had a group together that was good enough to be able to stay power status, whereas the Pac doesn't necessarily have that. Where's the deal, by the way? It's supposed to be done in March. It's April 7th. Waiting for the House settlement. Talk about that, too, if you want. Where's it at? We'll talk about the Houston-San Diego State comparison at noon. I think a lot could be learned from what Houston and even Cincinnati has done. We'll discuss later on. I want to get to the power rankings for Major League Baseball, and then we're going to get to the sports thread. And we got a lot in the sports thread to talk about. There's a lot going on. The Monday sports threads are always the best sports threads. I mean, Adam Klug does a great job with the sports thread in general, but especially after the weekend. Got a lot going on in sports. So many topics that we're never going to get to. Women's college basketball is a blowout in the national championship. I do want to give a shout out to San Diego product Ice Brady getting the championship at a Cathedral Catholic High School. We had two San Diego girls competing in the national championship last night. Or was that last night? Yeah, last night with South Carolina and UConn. UConn had Ice Brady at a Cathedral. And South Carolina had Tahina Paopao, if I'm not mistaken, out of Oceanside, who went to La Jolla Country Day, which is a transfer from Oregon. So two San Diego girls basketball players competing in the national championship on the biggest stage. Yesterday, it's cool to see. And shout out to those girls for having two totally great careers. And Ice Brady winning the national championship. Paopao won one last year with South Carolina. So congratulations to them. More stuff in the sports fix that we could dive into. I know I vote in the baseball poll for high school baseball. Lions tournament just finished up last week. A lot of great baseball in town for the high school level. And then again, later on in the show, I'll talk about my trip to Los Angeles, which started off pretty rough for myself. Started off rough for USD too, but at the same time, traveling in college sports is hilarious sometimes. I was going door to door looking for a room. I did not have one. We'll talk about that at the 12 o'clock hour. And then I tried this place called Fat Sal's over the weekend. I don't know if anybody's heard of Fat Sal's. It's up in LA. They have one in Westwood. They have one in Venice Beach. We were staying in Marina Del Rey. And so I checked it out. I mean, it is like, I'll tell you what I got. I tell you what I consumed. I do not want to look up the calorie content of what I consumed on Saturday night. But I will say, I understand. I'm just going to put it this way, of what I consumed on Saturday night. I understand why it's a sandwich place. I understand why that place is open till 3 a.m. I get it. After looking at the menu, I get it. I want to talk about the power rankings for Major League Baseball over the weekend. Again, 10 games in for the Padres. They're at 8-2 on the year. They're off to a good start. Even they lost 2 out of 3 to Chicago. If you continue to dominate at home and kind of play 500 ball on the road, you're going to be fine the rest of the year. If they take 2 out of 3 from I can't call them Sacramento. I can't call them Oakland. The A's. We're the A's. Don't call it Sacramento. Okay, whatever. You're playing in Sacramento. I should be able to call you Sacramento. Just because you have, you're trying to screw your fans over by going to Vegas. Should we have to abide by your non-Sacramento talk? Anyway, the A's. They're in Sacramento this weekend. They're playing the Athletics this week. Sorry, Monday through Wednesday. If the Padres take 2 out of 3, they go 500 on the road trip, you'll take that as the Rockies come to town to start the next homestand. And then you got the Cubs again. You can get a revenge against the Cubs. If they take 2 out of 3, that's good. You're 500. You sweep the A's, even better. I think it's going to be a home run derby. We'll have a full preview at 1 o'clock. As of right now, the Dodgers are still the number 1 team in Major League Baseball, according to MLB.com. They lost 2 out of 3 this week into Philly. They're not unbeatable. Philly got them 2 out of 3. They were in a slugfest yesterday. A lot of home runs leaving the yard. But Philly's a good team. They got a really good lineup. And they come in at number 2, which is what they were at last week on ESPN's rankings. I went with ESPN's power rankings last week, and I got yelled at in the chat about whatever. We're going to use MLB.com's then. Yankees at 3, I think that's a little high. I know they're off to a good start. I don't necessarily know it's that sustainable. Padres come in at number 4. As the excerpt from this article, and the people that vote on the MLB.com power rankings are all the MLB writers. Will Leach of MLB.com writes the excerpts of it. This is what he had to say about the Padres. Like the Dodgers, the Padres had to lose eventually, but it is worth noting that Jackson Merrill is playing like an MVP right now. He hit safely in the first 8 games of the season with a 429, 452, 714 slash line and 2 homers. I need to repeat that. The kid is hitting 429 with a 452 on base percentage and a 714 slugging percentage. Adam asked a good question during the break. And it's an interesting question. Is Jackson Merrill the best player in baseball right now? I mean, he's playing like it. He is playing like one of the best players in Major League Baseball, if not the best player right now in Major League Baseball. I don't know if we can crown him that, but he's off to a great start. And the more he continues to play like this, the better that contract extension looks like for the 21-year-old kid who hasn't even come close to hitting his man strength yet. Fernando even hasn't done that yet. He's 26. Let's wait for 28. I mean, think about that for a perspective of like the contracts that were just handed out last week. Vlad Jr.'s got $500 million. $500 million. Padres are paying Jackson Merrill $135 and Fernando $315 or whatever it is. Incredible by the Padres.
To be fair, Braden, I didn't ask if he is the best player in baseball. I just said it. I said it feels like he's playing like one of the best players right now. I didn't go that far. I didn't want to sound crazy.
You're not that. But after saying it, I don't think it's that crazy.
Well, can I at least share some knowledge and bring this up?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just pulled up Fangraphs. The 2025 WAR leaders. We're a week and a half, 2 weeks into the season, right? So, but this is why it's not a crazy conversation. Jackson Merrill is 7th in all of baseball in WAR right now.
7th best player according to WAR.
Just saying.
Where's the Drewski meme? With the hands up. Just saying. Around at the top 10, we'll get to the sports thread. Rangers at number 5. I think the Rangers wouldn't mess with Texas. They might be working their way to change some people's opinions on World Series picks for the American League. They might be the best team in the American League. Cubs at 6. They're pretty good. Diamondbacks at 7. Giants at 8. Mets at 9. And the Red Sox at 10. Everybody's favorite to win the American League off to a slower start than expected. 4 teams in the National League West in the top 10 in the latest power rankings. Is it sustainable for the Giants? We'll talk about that later on. But first, it's time to get to the sports thread. What else is going on in the sports world aside from baseball?
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
We'll bring back Adam Klug, the hot take man himself, ready to dish out some hot takes on what's going on in the Sports Thread.
Stop it.
What's going on in base?
Take machine.
No,
That's not what we do here.
Number 1.
Well, we can get started locally with SDFC. I'm sporting the jersey right now.
Second place.
Had a big win over the Seattle Sounders 3-0 on Saturday night to remain unbeaten at home. Chucky Lozano scored his first MLS goal and assisted on the team's 2 other goals. And SDFC now sits in second place in the Western Conference behind only the Vancouver Whitecaps. Give me one word to describe SDFC's start to the season.
I would say, I'm going to go from a business. I'm going to say needed. The needed start for San Diego FC. Think about where this team would be. I mean, they have to compete with San Diego Padres being off to a great start. You're building a fan base in San Diego. It's a brand new team. This is the best start that you could possibly get for the season. Get people interested. I mean, you got dueling entities right now in major professional sports in the United States. It's a good way to build a fan base. Good way to get people to go out to the stadium. I mean, you talk about San Diego State trying to bring people to their brand new stadium. They need to get off to a good start in that stadium. They haven't done so yet. San Diego FC has done a great job. The atmosphere is great. People are buying in. They're off to the best start you possibly could come up with, and they're at second place right now. If they can keep it up, keep it going, should be a fun summer for Padres and San Diego FC fans.
Still waiting to get you out there to a match.
I got to go, and I don't have other obligations.
Number 2.
Alexander Ovechkin etched his name into NHL history yesterday when he scored his 895th career goal, breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time scoring record to become the sport's most prolific scorer ever. Gretzky still has over 1,200 more assists and therefore points than Ovechkin. Ovi is a 13-time All-Star, a 3-time Hart Trophy winner as the league's MVP, and won the Stanley Cup in 2018. Are you willing to name Alexander Ovechkin as the second greatest NHL player of all time?
The second? I'd say
behind
so.
The great one.
I think so.
He's still the great one.
I think so. I mean, what a great moment for him yesterday and getting the goals. I would say he is. I mean, it's a big the accolades that he has accomplished in hockey, and I mean, the guy looks like he's 60 when he takes his helmet off right now.
Got the gray hair.
He's got the gray hair and the gray beard. You know, you look at his body, it doesn't scream athlete as he was down in a Diet Coors after the game yesterday, but I would put that in the category. Yeah, maybe second.
Number 3.
The Lady Huskies are NCAA champions once again as second-seeded UConn throttled top-seeded South Carolina 82-59 in the national championship yesterday. Gino Auriemma won his 12th national title, became the first coach to win a title at the age of at least 70. Were you surprised by how easily UConn dismantled South Carolina?
A little bit, but not really. I mean, this is I've now done 4 seasons of doing play-by-play for women's college basketball, and what I have learned in doing, you know, in calling women's college basketball, and now following it too, because TCU had a really good year. So as a fan, the tiers of women's college basketball are such gigantic separators. You know, there's a couple teams that are close, but not really. And then there's like a huge drop off, and then the next couple teams, then a huge drop off. A lot of the talent is not as, you know, it's not spread out amongst college athletics.
Distributed.
It's more centralized in a couple of programs, and one of them being UConn. And so not overly surprised. A lot of those games are blowouts more times than not.
Number 4.
Let's head over to the men's side of the bracket where Florida squeaked by Auburn 79-73 to advance to tonight's national championship game. And Houston went on a 15-3 run over the final 3 minutes of game action against Duke to overcome a 9-point deficit and advance to face the Gators. Who you got in tonight's title game?
I'm going to rep the Big 12, and I'm going to go with Houston.
Smart man.
I'm repping the Big 12 in Houston.
Never root for the Gators.
I don't like Florida. I mean, from that logic, obviously, with you being against Florida, being an SEC guy and a Georgia guy, I would have to be against Houston. Houston doesn't bother me. I'm not offended by Houston in the conference. Now, if they start beating us up in football, maybe I would. I think the fact that TCU basketball is not that great and whatever, but as Kelvin Sampson said, it's not like we didn't go 34-4 in the Toy Pony League.
We went
Toy Poodle League. We went 19-1 in the Big 12. Shout out to my Big 12 brethren. Sounds good, Kelvin. Power 2, baby. Big 12 basketball.
It's interesting that you bring up going for the Big 12 because you're a Big 12 guy, and I generally have a problem with people rooting for the conference when it isn't their team. Like, I'm a Georgia guy, but I don't root for the SEC because I think it makes it more difficult for my school when other schools are having success. I don't blindly have loyalty to the conference. I don't know if that's just the only reason you're rooting for Houston.
Since the Big 12 lost Texas and Oklahoma, I need the Big 12 to do well.
I'm not rooting for Florida.
Yeah, but you're the SEC, all right? You're at the highest level. When you're the conference like the Big 12 and you're trying to stay pace, here's my thing on this. I want TCU to play at the highest level possible, and I don't want them to get left behind. If the conference sucks, they get left behind. I need the conference to do well. I need bigger TV contracts. I need eyeballs on the conference. I will suck it up and not mind Houston winning or Big 12 teams win, because at the end of the day, it keeps my school relevant and not going to be left behind. Right. That's how SEC teams are in schools won't understand that at the highest level. They can do what they want. But that being said, am I rooting for Baylor in anything? Probably not.
Number 5.
After a years-long contract negotiation, the Blue Jays have finally locked up their star first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., signing him to a 14-year, $500 million contract extension. The 26-year-old is a 4-time All-Star, a 2-time Silver Slugger, has a Gold Glove, and a 48 home run season on his resume to go with a career OPS of 861. Do you think this was a wise investment for Toronto?
$500 million? No, I don't. I think it's like the same thing as the Juan Soto deal. I think you're paying this guy all this money to be a future DH and just a DH. I mean, if you are willing to give $500 million to a DH, then it's worth it for you. If you win a World Series, Ohtani can pitch. Ohtani can do a lot of other things too. Vlad's not Ohtani level. At this point, I'm glad the Padres signed Tatis. I'd give Tatis $500 million. I'm glad they don't have to, but I'd give him To me, Tatis is worth more than Vlad and Juan. I don't think that's that crazy of a take right there either. So when I look at how much the Padres are paying Tatis, and now obviously with inflation and everything like that, it's a little bit different now. I mean, Tatis probably would sign for maybe $650 million.
Ken Rosenthal wrote that by waiting just one more season instead of signing last year, Vlad made himself an extra $200 million.
Yeah. If Jackson Merrill cared about money, he could probably make more than Vlad. But he doesn't, and so he signed.
Can we go back to the Duke game for just a second? Adam Paul with an interesting comment in the chat says Duke choked. Do you believe that? Or is this a Houston winning it or Duke choking moment?
I mean, Duke didn't hit a field goal for the last 10 minutes, right? I think the call on Cooper Flagg was a little interesting late, where he had it was like the over the back call that they had against Cooper Flagg. I mean, that was kind of interesting. I wouldn't say they choked. I mean, a lot of things had to go right for Houston in that stretch, but I guess you make some shots from the field, you're not in that spot. But being down, down 6 or 7 with under a minute to go, 33 seconds to go, maybe a little bit of a choke job, not too much. I don't know. I don't shed a lot of tears for Duke losing. I don't. I'm not upset. Sucks to be them. Had the best player in college basketball and the best team, and guys lost to Houston. Why can't San Diego State be Houston? There's a lot of comparisons between the two, and I'm not just talking basketball. We'll discuss that when we come back. Plus my trip to Los Angeles over the weekend, and probably one of the craziest extra innings I've ever witnessed. We'll talk about that in the lunchtime hour on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Lunchtime hour on 97.3 The Fan. I smell lunch. Adam brought his lunch. Did you bring your lunch in? What did you have? What is for lunch today, Adam?
Had some leftover lo mein.
Oh, nice. Good stuff. Lo mein. That's going to make me want to eat bad. I can't eat during this. There's a couple things, a couple situations where I can't eat. One of them is during a show. This is very difficult to do when you talk for 4 hours to try to like force feed yourself in a 5-minute break and then be ready to go out there and talk. Again, that's the time I can't eat. During broadcasts, obviously, it's hard to, which is relatively the same thing. It's hard to eat. And the other thing, too, I've never been able to do this. I don't know how people do this. I don't know how athletes do this. My entire life, I have never, ever been able to eat before any type of physical activity, whether that be working out, whether that be playing a sport. And I'm talking like like when I was playing in high school and I was, playing softball is a little bit different, but still I can't, even if I eat 2 hours before I play softball now as an adult, I feel like sluggish, even if it's good food. I'm fueling my body with things that my body needs. I cannot, maybe it's mental. I cannot eat before any type of physical activity. They had that on, I saw it before the Padres game. Was it Friday? What are the days they were? Yeah, it was Friday. They had a special thing on Jackson Merrill about like food before the game or not. And he was like, oh, of course, you got to get your calories. I'm like, how do you do that? I've never, my brother could down a Chipotle burrito and a Chipotle bowl and still go out and play and have no issues. I can't eat like a protein bar. I feel like I'm going to throw up, or I feel like I'm sluggish. I can't eat before games. I can't do it. I would rather be starving and play than eat on any type of food, which sounds crazy.
You know that Tanner Bybee from The Guardian says he eats Chipotle before every game.
How?
Every game.
How? I don't get it. Last Tuesday, I was with USD at Irvine. They were playing UC Irvine, and I guess Irvine used to not have like pregame food. I mean, I watch these college kids crush food all the time. I mean, they're constantly eating. The snacks that they have to have 2 kids on the team bring the snack bin, and the food that they get ordered to the ballpark and these kids are eating all the time. All the time. But at Irvine last Tuesday, how it worked, I mean, in college baseball, home team hits, for an hour, and then the away team hits, and they both do infield, outfield if they want to do it, yada, yada. And that's how they go through. So Irvine just completed batting practice, and I don't know what their deal is, how they worked it out, but they go and they get their pregame meal from the concession stand, which is one of the best concession stands in all of college baseball in Southern California, UC Irvine. They got some good stuff. But there was like 25 of them. Again, these college rosters are huge. But there was about 25 of them ordering at the concession stand, and the concession lady was like, when I was walking by, I was like, oh, here comes our biggest rush of the night, which is the Irvine baseball team. I saw a kid on Irvine's baseball team with a burrito bigger than my face and a Philly cheesesteak and a container of carne asada fries, and then he went out there and hit a bomb during the game. How did you consume that much food and then like run and sprint and be athletic? I don't understand. I can't do that. Bybee eats Chipotle before? I mean, what?
Do you believe in drinking booze while you're playing golf?
Yeah, but I'm not really there to compete for golf. I'm there to have a good time. You know what I can't do? I can't drink and play softball. I don't know how those people do that. Like those beer league teams, it's just no. Especially like if there's any chance I'm playing in the infield, the last thing I want to do is be any type of impaired with how hard they hit the ball. But in golf, like for golf, when I golf, I'm there to have a good time. Maybe hit a drive really far. Get one good short game chip, make a putt, enjoy the ambiance of the area, right? I have a city card so I can play Tory, and it doesn't cost me, an arm. and just enjoy myself on the golf course. I'm there for a good time. I don't really care. That's what I feel. What's your handicap? I don't know. I don't care. I don't really track it. I'm not very good. I'll make a couple of good shots. I'll hit the living snot out of a ball once or twice on a drive, and then the other 16 will be sliced somewhere. I'll get one good chip. If I try to do it again, nope. I'll make one long putt, do it again. It's a circus. I am the perfect golfer in the sense of I get at least one shot that will get me coming back for more. And aside from that, that's basically it.
I feel like I derailed the show just by bringing my lunch in the studio.
Smells good, though. So, yes, I do have a cocktail or a drink on the golf course. The thing with beer, though, is like it fills you up. So it's like I can't be crushing Diet Coors out there and Diet Millers. You know, the Sunday softball league I play in is more of a league in which they consume alcohol. In fact, my team has it's alcohol consuming rules. And I'm just like, I'm not here to drink. I would rather swing the bat better and be able to see the ball when it's hit at me and everything like that. But they have they do fireball shots before. There's nothing worse than taking a fireball shot at 8 in the morning before a softball game when I was probably doing something the night before on a Saturday night. That's like sniff the cinnamon. You're like, oh, no. Ugh. So I went with the seltzers on the Sunday softball, make it look like I'm drinking, part of the group. But, I can't do the beers. It slows me down. So no food or drink during any type of moving activity. Now, OTL, I think, is different. OTL is different. I can drink plain OTL. I think that's more fun. And those balls those are missiles, and you don't have a glove. You got to use your hands. I will do it for over the line. Over the line's a different animal. That's a different game. So over the line and golf, kind of the same sport to an extent. I'll go with that. But everything else, no food, no drink before the game. I'll maybe crush a Powerade at the Sportsplex tonight. I'll drink after the game, maybe one, but not while I'm playing. So what were we actually supposed to talk about right here? Oh, San Diego State and Houston. Houston's playing a national championship tonight against Florida. Houston just recently entered into the Big 12 conference, so they are a Power 4 school. They had to make a move to not get left behind. They're a school that has been left behind in the past. And they've always been the little brother of the state of Texas. And when I look at Houston, they're a public university. They are the small university, or the overlooked university in the state of Texas. They've always been a really good group of 5 program for all of their sports. And they've had some ups and downs in football. They've had some ups and downs in basketball. And they've, it's just like any other group of 5 school. But I look at San Diego State and I look at Houston and I go, these schools are like the exact same school for many different reasons. I look at the size of the school. San Diego State has about 39,000 students, close to 40,000 students of total enrollment. Houston's got 45,000. So they're 2 very large schools in major states. They are 2 schools that are in major cities of the United States, in Houston and in San Diego. There are 2 schools that get overshadowed by the 2 major schools in the state that they are in. Or in this particular case, multiple schools in the state that they're in. If you look at the state of California, the 4 schools that you think of from a college athletic standpoint and just school in general, Stanford, Cal, USC, UCLA. You look at the Texas schools. You got Texas and Texas A&M. You got Texas Tech. You got the 2 private schools in TCU and Baylor. All of those schools have been in power conferences longer and before Houston has, who finally got into one. So they're the overlooked schools in their state. They're both in major markets. They're both in major cities. And for a long time, they're both group of 5 schools that have all the same excuses, yet Houston is here competing for a national championship, which San Diego State was able to do a couple of years ago. But Houston is here now in a power conference, and changing things with their athletic department and how they do things in the city of Houston that has more professional sports than San Diego does. And San Diego State is still in the same position that they were in the last couple of years. I look at Houston as a place of what San Diego State could potentially be. Same kind of relatively sized school. They're in a major market. In reality, a major city in a state that sends a lot of the resources to two larger institutions. Houston's competing with a lot of different things going on in town, just like San Diego State has to do. So for all the excuses that San Diego State usually has, as well as their fans, Houston has the same excuses, yet here they are. They found a way into a conference. I look at Houston, and what I look at Houston is I look at Houston as what San Diego State would be if they, in the last conference realignment, got themselves into a major conference. By any means necessary, they'd be Houston right now. They wouldn't be playing in a toy poodle conference. They'd be playing in the Big 12 conference. They'd be getting a large check, regardless if it was a half share or a full share. And if it's just a half share, that's still $25 million a year from the Big 12 conference and competing in multiple sports. I mean, what are the problems for San Diego State that I hear all the time? Well, we can't get people to go to football. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on in San Diego. Well, we can't get the corporate dollars. I mean, if you're a major corporation in the city of Houston, your money's still relatively going to the other major programs in town or the major organizations in the Astros and the Rockets and the Texans and their soccer team, whatever it is, Houston Dynamo. And if they're going to universities, they're going to the two major universities just outside of town in Austin and in College Station. So they don't have the same kind of level. It's a public school. So you can't even make the a lot of these schools that are the private schools have, very wealthy, either families that are sending their kids there or wealthy alumni where it kind of evens out. That's where you see the TCU, Baylor's, USC's of the world. But you look at two major public universities side by side and what Houston was able to do and fit their way into a power conference shows where San Diego State could be. Houston's had a little bit more success. You could look at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's the same thing. There's a lot more going on in Cincinnati than just the Bearcats. It's not like it's a college town. And when you think about Cincinnati, it's the Bengals, it's the Browns, it's the Reds. Or the Bengals, the Reds. It's the Bengals and the Reds. Don't really think about Cincinnati college athletics. They've been good, not great. These are two schools that San Diego State beat multiple times in bowl games when they were both group of 5 members. And the other thing, too, if we're just comparing basketball right now, San Diego State beat Houston this year. They beat them. And they might go on to win the national championship. Their trajectory is going in a way different direction than San Diego State right now. And it's very comparable in terms of universities. That's why I said for the longest time how important it's been for them to go out there and find any means possible to get into a power conference. And this new PAC deal that they have isn't going to cut it. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what kind of TV deal they get. But to me, I don't think it's the same. I would rather take a half share in one of these power conferences than take the full share of dealing with Washington State and Oregon State and the rest of the Mountain West. The prototype is right there. It's Houston. It's Cincinnati. They made the jump in major UCF in Orlando. These are schools in big cities that always say it's not a college town, they can't compete. San Diego State, you can look to these schools to compare yourself and be like, we should be like them. That should be the goal. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I was up in LA over the weekend as USD played UCLA. I watched one of the most bizarre games I have ever seen in yesterday's game. Plus, I was looking for a hotel. That was kind of a rough story on Friday night. And I mentioned the trip to Big Fat Sal's. We'll talk about all that when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on Setting Number One Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Had a lot of baseball coverage today. Baseball coverage on 97 through the Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on the iPhone 16 Pro. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to need some contestants to try to take me down on our new game, the Midday Sports Standoff. I'm your Huckleberry. Midday Sports Standoff at 12:45. Try to take me down in some sports trivia. And if you do, you will qualify for an opportunity to win our grand prize. 2 tickets to either Disturbed Ghost or Pantera in Las Vegas, plus a 2-night stay at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas and a $150 gift card. Get tickets for all 3 shows now at Ticketmaster.com. New qualifier for the month on the Braden Surprenant Show. This weekend, I was up in Los Angeles for 3 days. I took some cheap shots on that, by the way. One of my buddies was like, hey, did you notice Braden went to LA this weekend and the Padres lose 2 games immediately? It's my fault. I need money in the chat. Can't wait for him to pop off and say just being in LA is Dodger loving. USD had a 3-game series against the 14th ranked UCLA Bruins at Jackie Robinson Stadium. It was a great place. Went up there. I drove up on Friday. Didn't have a show because of the game, the Padre game. So I watched the first couple of innings at home, and then I jumped in the car and listened all the way up to Jackie Robinson Stadium. In fact, actually, at one point, I stopped just past Long Beach, made a little bit of a caffeine rush. I stopped at Starbucks to get a coffee, and then I posted up and watched the last inning on my phone at Starbucks. But got up to Jackie Robinson Stadium, just off the 405, which that's an interesting situation in itself. Jackie Robinson Stadium is not owned by UCLA. It's owned by the VA. And Veteran Affairs owns the land around it, and they got their VA hospital, and then they also have what's next door is Los Angeles National Cemetery, for military and government personnel. But over the offseason, a judge ruled that UCLA had to get all their crap out of Jackie Robinson Stadium and not play there anymore, which was the most bizarre thing ever. They almost didn't have a place to play. They were practicing at modern day Santa Ana, and they were driving up to Northridge and I think they went to Birmingham High School, whatever it is, and they decided to practice all over Los Angeles until like a week before their alumni game. They were allowed back in. They have until July 5th of this year to negotiate a deal with the VA about playing there. They're paying the VA $600,000 a year to play baseball at that stadium, which is an interesting conversation in itself. But go up there on Friday. USD has a rough night. A lot of walks. Just so many walks. It honestly looked like the first inning of the Padre game on Sunday, except for USD got run ruled in 7 innings, lost 15-2. And so we were staying in Marina del Rey, and I drove myself up there because I don't want to. There's not really a place for me to park on campus at USD for road trips. And so I only do that if I absolutely have to. And I was like, well, I will drive up to LA because when the game is over on Sunday, instead of driving, and I live in the Scripps Ranch area, instead of driving past my house to go to USD and then ask for a ride back to my house, I might as well just drive myself. So I ended up driving myself, and I'm going to have to bite the bullet on the hotel we stayed at was valet only, which was disgusting in itself. So game's over. I jump in my car, meet you guys at the hotel. I get to the hotel, have to valet my car for $57 a night. It's fair. It's what the deal is. Okay. Guy hooked me up. I only had to pay for one night, which is super cool. I go, and sometimes you could check yourself in, but I'm with a group and I'm not the guy in charge of the group. So I went to the front desk and oh, are you checking in? I'm like, yes, I'm with USD, whatever. Are you the person in charge? No, I'm not. If this screws anything up, let me know. I'll get out of the way. I'll just wait. And they're like, well, let's go get some of the room keys. So I give them my name, and my name's not on the list. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Well, maybe I'm paired with, and usually I'm paired with the sports information director. So maybe the name is just under, or maybe the room's just under his name. So I wait for USD to show up. They get there. They hand out the room keys. I go up with the SID, and there's no room for me at the hotel. A little miscommunication. So I don't have a room in Los Angeles. And so the workaround here is trying to find a new room. So we go down the front desk like, hey, well, what else do you got? Let's just add it to the list. We're sold out. I'm like, great. Sold out. Meanwhile, I've already paid the $57 up front to valet my car for the weekend. So I'm like, okay, well, there's other hotels around here. Let's go find some other hotels. And we went to the next one. And we get there and we checked on the phone. We checked on our phone first. Like, hey, look, like looking for a room. Place across the street's got one. Walked over there, went to the front desk. Hey, we need a room. Looking for one. He's like, somebody on whatever it is, some travel booking thing, just booked the last room. We're sold out. Go to an Edition hotel, sold out. And at this point, I'm like, look, man, I'm going home. If this isn't, we'll try one more. And other than that, I'm going to go get my car from the valet, eat the $57 and just drive home and not come back. I just like, it didn't work out. I'm just not going to come back. So we tried one more hotel, and it was at the Hilton Garden Inn in Marina del Rey. Had one room left. I was like, I'll take it. We'll take the room. So I finally got a room at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Most places already closed. As a Catholic on Friday, I don't eat meat on Fridays during Lent. So I was I was hungry. I didn't eat anything all day. So my dinner that night, I felt like a college kid. I had 2 Reese's Cups and 2 Michelob Ultras was like my calories for the night. And I could have DoorDashed something. I was like, forget it, man. I'm just going to go to bed. So I go to bed, wake up the next day, and I went down. It was a beautiful morning the next day. I walked around Venice Beach, went and got a coffee. Was up and out early. The New Orleans Pelicans apparently were staying somewhere nearby because their support staff were walking all over Venice Beach on Saturday after they got smoked by the Lakers the night before. And I guess the question is, would you rather have an off day in LA or an off day in Milwaukee in April? And they obviously were like, yeah, we might as well stay in LA an extra day. So got breakfast, went to the game. USD battled back on Saturday, had the tying and go-ahead runs on base in the 9th inning and hit into a game-ending double play to lose the series on Saturday, but another game again on Sunday to potentially, salvage the weekend. That night, I've been seeing all these ads for Fat Sal's. And I was like, what's this place? Apparently it's a sandwich shop. So I was like, I gotta try this Fat Sal's place, but it's like, it's like a fast casual dining place. It's not like I can go, have a drink and whatever. So I go to USD's hotel because their hotel was a little bit nicer clientele. And I had a beer or had a drink. And I thought this is kind of odd. Maybe I'm wrong here. Like, I'm sitting at the bar, the hotel bar, and that's usually for people that are staying at the hotel, which I currently was not, but I knew people that were, or people like that are on vacation or in town for the weekend. 2 locals came up, a married couple, and they were at the Kings game, and the dude was already blitzed. I mean, the guy was already, he was having a good time. The guy was having a great time. I think he got dropped off, whatever. And so but they knew the bartender, they knew everybody at the bar. I'm like, is this a local watering hole? The hotel, the Marriott Marina del Rey? Is this the local watering hole for the area? Like, how do you go to local hotel bars? Does anybody do that here? First of all, it's usually more expensive. Like in your area, are you going to the local hotel bar? I feel like that's kind of odd. It seemed odd to me. They were very nice people. They bought me a drink, so that was kind of nice. But had a couple of drinks, and I was like, I'm gonna walk down to Fat Sal's. So Fat Sal's has, I guess they got places in Vegas and Culver City, and I went to the one in Venice Beach, in Marina del Rey, Westwood. I mean, a bunch of spots throughout Southern California. They were a big sponsor of UCLA baseball. And I was like, well, let me check this place out. I've heard of it before, but they have like the most insane sandwiches. This is what I got. I mean, I can't believe they put this amount of stuff in a sandwich. And I had to try it. I would never consume this more than once every couple of years. It was a Philly cheesesteak, essentially. It's called the Fat Jerry. It's a Philly cheesesteak with grilled onions, melted American cheese. They had chicken fingers in it, mozzarella sticks, bacon bits, a fried egg, fries, mayo, ketchup, salt, and pepper on an Italian hero. On a hero roll. It was delicious. I don't know if I'd ever eat that again, but it was delicious. It's got cheese fries on the side with melted cheddar and mozzarella. And then I got a shake. They have like these crazy shakes too. I got the vegan shake, but I wanted real ice cream. I just liked the setup that it was. So it was vanilla ice cream, peanut butter, Oreos, and then, whipped cream, and then they doused like the container, the cup with like what looked like a whipped cream around the rim with sprinkles on the side. But it wasn't like melting as I was eating my food. And so I was like, well, let me eat some of this whipped cream on the side before it melts all over the place. I took a spoonful of like what I thought was whipped cream and sprinkles. It was frosting. I'm like, what kind of place is this? Delicious. I mean, it was delicious. I could see why that place was open till 3 a.m. The next day was the best day of the weekend for USD. USD jumps out to a 2-0 lead on an Austin Smith 2-run homer. UCLA answers in the bottom of the first with 2 more runs. They add a run in the third inning. They go up 3-2. Again, USD playing the 14th best team in the country in UCLA. They get a bases loaded walk from A.J. Beltre. USD does in the 8th inning. That's Adrian Beltre Jr. So Adrian Beltre was there, as he usually is for most San Diego baseball games. And then it goes into extra innings. And we play 14 innings. We play enough where there is a second 7th inning stretch in the 14th inning. Game total goes to 5 hours. Early in extra innings, USD had bases loaded, nobody out. And they go contact play out at the plate on a force out. And then they go a 3-2-3 double play. They get out of the top half of, I think, the 12th inning with no runs. UCLA gets on to start the bottom of the 12th inning on an error by Beltre. And then it goes hit by a pitch. And then a walk. And so now UCLA has bases loaded with nobody out in the bottom of the 12th inning and the winning run at third base to try to complete the 3-game sweep against USD. USD decides to grab Austin Smith, who is one of their best players, if not the best, out of Granite Hills, who is the starting center fielder. He's a lefty, by the way. They bring him in, and now he's a two-way guy, so he's used to pitching. They got his pitching glove, which is his infield glove. He doesn't play infield. He's a lefty. He'd only play first base. He comes running in. They tell him to come in. He thinks he's going to pitch. They're like, no, we're going to need you to play third. So they put left-handed throwing Austin Smith at third base. They move Beltre over to shortstop. And then they have 3 on the right side of the infield. They're going to go 5-man infield against bases loaded, nobody out, and the winning run at third base. The catcher for UCLA comes to bat. All he's got to do is put the ball somewhere in the air. The outfielders are confused. They're kind of set up, but not really, in the gaps, and they're shallow. Any ball hit to the outfield should win the game for UCLA. I'll tell you what happens next when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 12:40, 97.3 The Fan, the Braden Surprenant Show. We've got a lot to catch up on. We're going to play our game in a couple of minutes here. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Get into the rotation to try to take me down for an opportunity to win our grand prize. 2 tickets to either Disturbed, Ghost, or Pantera in Las Vegas, plus a 2-night stay at MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and a $150 gift card. Get tickets for all 3 shows now at Ticketmaster.com. I got an interesting hedge bet situation that we'll talk about in the 1 o'clock hour that involves a couple of people with a bracket pool. And I want to know what you guys would do in this particular sense. But it's a very interesting conversation nonetheless that rides on this game tonight between Houston and Florida. We'll talk about that in the next hour. I do want to finish what I was telling you about when it comes to UCLA and USD baseball for the situation that was at hand. But I do want to get to the poll of the day. Should Kyle Hart still be the number 5 starter after yesterday? I've been discussing this a little bit throughout the show. We'll continue at 1 o'clock, but 640 votes. We're at a dead 50-50 split right now. If you haven't voted yet, go to 973thefansd.com or 973thefansd on social media on X. The poll is posted on X. Get your weigh in on that. So where I kind of we ran out of time in the last segment. That's why I kind of teased it to start it off. It's not like a huge story or not, but USD and UCLA are tied at 3 in the bottom of the 12th inning. UCLA's got the bases loaded, nobody out, and the winning run's at third base. Again, bottom of the 12th inning. This is right after San Diego loaded the bases with no outs and got nothing out of it. So, bases loaded, nobody out, winning run at third base for UCLA. Their catcher, Duggar, comes to the bat. And USD decides to go 5-man infield with 2 outfielders in the gaps, but not deep, because if it's deep, it's not going to matter. So they play in. Infield is in. You have the shortstop, second baseman, and first baseman on the right side of the infield. You have the third baseman in a shortstop position on the left side of the infield with center fielder and left-handed throwing Austin Smith at third base, who hasn't played infield since he was a little league kid playing shortstop when that doesn't matter. 5 guys in the infield. Interesting move. We saw the Dodgers do that against the Padres a couple of years ago. It ended up working for them. First pitch, swing and a miss. Second pitch, swing and a miss. All he's got to do, Cash Duggar, is put the ball in play. And good things will probably happen. They'll probably win the series. They'll probably sweep. Fouls a couple off, takes the ball. It's a 1-2 count. He hits the ball in the air to the outfield. Right at the right fielder who's playing right center, and Rex Watson. And it's not very deep. Rex catches the ball, throws an absolute strike to home plate. Catch, tag, double play. Next batter flies out to center, and UCLA comes up with nothing to go to the 13th inning. 0-0 in the 13th. Top of the 14th, Austin Smith, who already started the game with a 2-run homer to take a 2-0 lead, hits a solo home run to lead off the 14th inning. USD in the bottom half. Dallin Harrison, couple of punch outs, allows 1 single, or actually walks 1 batter, and then he gets out of the jam, and USD beats the 14th ranked team in the country 4-3 in 14 innings. Game went 5 hours and 2 minutes on a Sunday. That was a happy drive back. I was not on the bus ride back. I'm sure it was great, but I'm talking from my perspective, it was awesome. Driving back. Good win for USD. It was kind of a crazy. I couldn't believe both teams loaded the bases in extra innings with no outs and didn't score. I mean, you hardly ever see that. Ever. Talked about the poll question. Got a good betting thing for you in the next hour, but it's time to play our game, which is called the Midday Sports Standoff, for an opportunity to win a chance to go to Vegas. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, he's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The midday sports standoff starts now.
All right. We'll see if Guy in Bay Park can take me down and win an opportunity to go to Las Vegas. Guy, if you're able to take me down, you're qualified for a chance to win our grand prize. 2 tickets to either Disturbed, Ghost, or Pantera in Las Vegas, plus a 2-night stay at the MGM Grand in Sin City, and a $150 gift card. Get tickets for all 3 shows now at Ticketmaster.com. Guy, what's going on, man? How's your Monday?
Hey, Braden. Oh, just working, man. Enjoying the sunshine.
Nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful weekend leading into hopefully a beautiful week and warm weather here in America's finest city.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen, Guy? Adam's going to have a topic. It's going to have multiple answers on this particular topic. We're going to go back and forth, and whoever has the most will win the contest. Now, that being said, if you take too long to answer or you guess wrong, you get a strike. 3 strikes, and you're out, and you would lose. In fact, that has been a problem in the past for some of our contestants, so try not to strike out. And if there happens to be an answer that repeats on the list, if you give that answer, you get multiple points for however many that item appears on said list. You understand? Ready to play?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
All right, Guy, let's see what Adam's got today on the Midday Sports Standoff.
I'll warn you, Braden, in case you or any of the listeners are not aware, Guy is a frequent contestant on Take on Woods in the morning and beats Woodsy pretty consistently. So you've got a formidable opponent here.
Is that a song?
Sports is one thing, music is another.
I was going to say, he's probably going to get me in music.
All right, guys. We haven't covered it a whole ton over the last week or so, but the Final Four happened this weekend. We've got the national championship game tonight. So with that, today's question is, name any Final Four team on the men's side since 2021. We will exclude this year's team since we've already talked quite a bit about them and since the games just happened this weekend. So 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024 Final Four teams on the men's side.
And the 4 that are this year, you cannot say.
That's correct. Guy can go first.
Okay. San Diego State.
I'm going to go with Baylor.
UConn.
UConn is a double whammy.
Been in twice.
23 and 24.
Florida Atlantic.
Guys are going faster than I can even keep track here.
All right, a little break for the score update.
Go for it. I'm good.
All right. Go ahead, Guy.
Okay. Let's see. Kansas in there?
Kansas. 2022.
I think it was after 2020. Texas Tech. That must have been 2019. Because the Red Raiders were in the Final Four a couple years ago. All right, it's 1 strike for me.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Gonzaga.
The Zags.
Told you, formidable opponent here.
That's right. Last 4 years. Is Villanova in the last 4 years?
2022.
Let's see. How's about didn't Washington make it in there?
They made the college football national championship game. Not the Final Four in basketball.
How many we got left?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
still got
9
a lot.
left.
All right. South Carolina. Oh, they didn't. No.
2 X's for you, Braden.
How about?
No, that's not the one I was thinking of.
You're thinking of Frank Martin. It was quite a while ago.
I was thinking about this other one.
On the women's side. Guy, go ahead.
You said South. How about North Carolina?
Guy running away with it here.
NC State is what I was thinking of.
The other North Carolina team.
Yes. That's who I was thinking of. Because they
made it
came
last year.
Correct.
How about Purdue? Are they?
They're in the national title game
last year.
just last year.
I'm going to go with the UCLA Bruins. Win as an 11 seed.
Back in 2021. Score is 7-5. Guys ahead.
BYU.
That is guys' second X? Or
Yes.
first? All right, you both have 2 wrong. 2 buzzers.
Miami.
Miami, the Hurricanes. 7-6. There are 4 correct answers left.
Wow. Still?
All right. Alabama.
Alabama, Roll Tide. Made it last year.
They did. Who else is in the Final Four the last couple of seasons? I get them all mixed up eventually. Said Kansas, Baylor.
You need this one.
I know. I don't know because they didn't make it either. Anybody else in the Big 12? I don't think so. I think Oregon made it either.
Need
And
an answer.
I know Arizona didn't make it.
Need an
stink.
answer.
I'm gonna go with yeah, I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head.
How could you not go with the other North Carolina team, Duke?
Oh, because they're in the Final Four this year.
2022 also, though.
Oh, I thought you couldn't use any of those 4
Well,
for
just
the
not
whole
this
time.
year's
Oh,
team.
what? I would have totally said like Duke.
How are you going to go past all of the... You said no Big 12 teams. There's Houston and Baylor also, 2021.
I said Baylor. No, I said, yeah, I already used Baylor.
Well, one of your right answers. I'm saying Houston also made it in 2021.
I see when you said no team from this year, I thought I couldn't use any of those 4 teams as a guess.
I'm going to give Guy the applause.
Well, yeah.
And we'll say I wouldn't have given you 2 points then. How about that?
Okay, well, you said like you can't, let's exclude the 4 from this year. So I was like, okay, well, some of them made it multiple times. All right, fair enough.
I hear a whiner and a complainer. Over
No,
here.
I mean I'm just saying. That's why I didn't. That's why I didn't pick Duke or Houston because you said you can't pick any of the teams from this year. There's some other ones in here that was like Texas Tech was that 19 or was that 2020? Because Tech was just in the Final Four. I think it was 2020. I can't remember after the 20. That was 2019 when Tech made it. My next guess would have been like Virginia, but that was pre-COVID. Baylor, Gonzaga, Houston, UCLA in 2021. Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, Villanova 2022. UConn, San Diego State, Miami, Florida Atlantic 2023. UConn, Purdue, Alabama, NC State 2024. And Florida, Duke, Houston, and Auburn in 2025.
You watching this game tonight, or you gonna be locked in on baseball?
What time's the game start? 5?
Good question.
5 something? It's usually around 5.
Probably 6, isn't it? 9
5 or
o'clock?
6.
The game's in San Antonio.
Yeah, but they still put on East
Game
Coast
starts
now.
at 5:50.
5:50.
That's closer to. It begins with a 5, but it's closer to 6.
I got softball at 6 and 7, so probably not. Maybe on my phone. A lot of people that chat agree with me, but we like giving away prizes, so I don't really care. That guy won. That would have got me like 2 more answers though, and that's about it. He still, I think, had more points. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was you can't use any of those teams, and they've Duke and Houston both appeared other times. Kelvin Sampson finally in the national championship game with Houston. Houston and Florida tonight at 5:50. Padres will start at 6:40 tonight, with the game being in Sacramento. We'll talk more Padres baseball when we come back, plus a betting situation. See what you guys have to think. Braden Surprenant Show, saying it's over at Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. 1 o'clock on a Monday. As we got a snow game going on in Detroit right now. It's 3-0 Tigers, and it is snowing. You know it's snowing. If you see the snow on TV, it's snowing. It is coming down, and that's exactly what they're playing in right now. I wouldn't consider it a snowstorm, but it's snowing in Detroit. It's not sticking to the ground, so you don't have to worry about that. But Yankees and Tigers look miserable right now. As Anthony Volpe is in the box. I mean, everybody's got like their masks on and everything like that, trying to stay warm playing baseball. Doesn't look fun. Volpe punches out. Tigers up 3-0 as they head to the bottom of the fourth inning. Is that our only day baseball right now? On a Monday, it might be. Padres will be coming up later on this evening as they get ready to take on Sacramento. We'll get you a full preview of, all right, I'm not supposed to call them that, but they're Sacramento to me at this point. They're playing there. How dare you say what we can and cannot call you at Sacramento. But they play the A's tonight at 7:05. 7:05 start. The latest start in Major League Baseball tonight. 7:05 start. Michael King, Luis Severino. Should be a good pitching matchup for the Padres and A's tonight. If it is anything like last week, and again, small sample size early in the season, but the Cubs hung a ton of runs on Sacramento, on the A's. Can't call them by their same name. They hung a ton of runs on the A's. I think they outscored them like 30-9 with multiple home runs a game for both sides. A's just got back from Colorado. They took 2 out of 3 from the Rockies. But you look at that first week in Sacramento, and it was a bandbox. I mean, balls are flying out of that place all series long. It even led to a cycle that was hit for the Chicago Cubs. So Luis Severino and Michael King tonight. 35-9, the Cubs outscored the Athletics in a 3-game sweep in Sacramento last week. So they're still looking for their first win at Sutter Park. What's it called? What are they calling it? Sutter Park? What is it? Sutter Health Park. Yeah, there it is. We'll have a full preview of that in just a little bit. So we got some bracket pools that are out there, right? And some people might still be alive, some people won't. I know a bracket pool that is happening in which the winner is going to get $1,300 and second place gets $245. Now, if Florida wins, player A wins $1,300, and I don't know who second place is. If Houston wins, player B gets $1,300. If Florida wins, player B will not come in second place. They will win nothing. If Houston wins, player A will come in second place and win $245. So if you're player B and you have Houston, and if Houston wins, you win the pool at $1,300. Are you making a hedge bet immediately right now to counteract just in case Florida wins? You have to do that where gambling is legal. But is that what you do? Player A wins the pool if Florida wins, and if they lose, he gets $245 for second. So player A gets $1,300 for a Florida win and $245 for a Houston win. Pretty okay. The buy-in was $10 per. Player B is all or nothing on Houston. $1,300 for Houston if they win, nothing if Florida wins. Got to be hedging your bet right there. How much do you hedge? Just a couple $100, maybe? Couple hundred? I mean, it was $10 to play. If you wanted to have 2 brackets, it's $20. So a max entry was $20. Do you want to make your $20 back, or do you want to make sure like you win on top of that? The line right now for the game, Florida's favored by 1.5. You could probably do the money line. Yeah. Win the money line and go after both. I mean, there's some serious hedge betting that needs to be happening right now if you are player A or player B.
No, I meant that if you bet the underdog, right, they could lose and cover.
They could lose and cover. So with Florida being a 1.5 point favorite, you bet Houston plus 1.5 if you're the Florida guy. And if Houston loses by 1 or whatever like that, then you theoretically win both. It's not really a hedge bet, though. It's just that's being ultra aggressive right there. So there's some stakes on the line tonight's game, Florida-Houston. I'm sure there's more than just that as well with that particular game. That game will start at 5:50. Again, Padres game won't get underway until 7:05, which means we got a 6:05 Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt. Coming up after Gwen and Chris, we have a big weekend of sports to break down, just like we did on 97.3 The Fan. If you want to join the show today, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Congratulations again to Guy, who qualified for a chance to win the grand prize to either Disturbed Ghost or Pantera in Las Vegas. We could do that again tomorrow at 12:40. We had a poll out there that started the show. A lot of people have participated in said poll. If you haven't done so already, we'll continue to look at it. 682 votes already. And now it is swung in favor of Kyle Hart. Should Kyle Hart still be the number 5 starter after yesterday? I talked about it earlier in the show. I can get back to it as well. 50% of you, 50.6% of you say yes, he should still be the number 5 starter after yesterday. 49.4% of you said no. Joe E on Twitter says Kolek deserved the spot in spring training. D. Cruz Baker 96. I think given more chances, we've seen inconsistency from Vasquez time and time again. President of the Randy Vasquez fan club on Twitter. X. Can't kick a guy out of the rotation for one bad start out of 2. If that was the case, you'd be kicking everyone out. Every guy in the rotation has had a good start and a bad one. Which goes to the saying of, if this kind of goes back to like Atlanta. You know, with the Braves are off to a rough start. And a lot of things not go their way either. They lose Profar for 80 games. Renato Lopez is on the injured list. I mean, they have had arguably the worst start you could have to a season for a Major League Baseball team. And so they start the season 0-7. We lost 4 games to San Diego, 3 to LA. They beat the Marlins on Friday of last week, and then they had a rain out, and so they only played the Marlins twice. They ended up going 1-1. That game got moved, so we don't know when that makeup's going to be. And then they have a series starting tomorrow against Philadelphia. But as Brian Snicker pointed out, if we lose 5 games in a row in the middle of July, nobody bats an eye. Nobody cares. It happens in baseball. If a guy goes 0 for 17 in the middle of the season, nobody bats an eye. Nobody cares. It's just part of baseball. But when you start the year 0 for 17, or you start the year 0-7, or you start the year and have a bad outing after a good one, it's like hell to pay for that individual because it's the beginning of the year, and all of a sudden people think that's what's going to be the rest of the season for said player. If Kyle Hart put together a bunch of number 5 starter outings in the first 2 or 3 months of the season, and then had this outing on Sunday in June, people would be like, well, it was just a bad outing. But at the beginning of the season, it's like, this guy stinks, get him out of the rotation, should be Stephen Kolek, like, let's just, a knee-jerk reaction time, overreaction time after 10 games into the season. It wasn't a good outing. And that's not an outing that you can win with. That's not an outing that you want to see out of your 5th starter. I mean, even for what you are expecting out of a 5th starter, that's not where you want to be, especially the walks. Now, I think you could fix some of the walks. You can go through, and there's a lot of talk and chatter about the swing and miss and not a lot of whiffs right now out of guys like Vasquez and in Kyle Hart. I mean, a lot of the swing and miss that Kyle Hart generates comes from locating the fastball and then playing off of it with pitches out of the zone. I think the Cubs in general are not a team that has a lot of swing and miss. They're very patient at the plate. They grind out at bats. They take pitches. They don't chase out of the zone too much, at least early on this season. And when you got a guy like Kyle Hart not locating his fastball, good scouting reports and good hitters are not gonna start swinging out of the zone on pitches that aren't going to be there. But I think Kyle Hart's going to be able to figure it out. You have to give him a couple of starts to really see where you're at with him. You got to let Steven Kolick continue to get starts in the minor leagues. Same thing with Vasquez in the number 3 spot of the rotation. Then you got to start driving up some sample size. Again, these games do matter just as much as all the other ones, but it's not in a position to overreact at the beginning of the season. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We got updates on Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish, hopefully helping out the rotation this season with you, but good progress still from Joe. Again, if he pitches at the end of the year, it's icing on the cake, but I don't know why you'd want to rush him back if you don't have to. We'll talk about the 3-game series in Sacramento tonight. It's, again, Michael King, and it's Luis Severino of the Oakland, Sacramento. Just call us the A's. The A's tomorrow, left-handed pitcher for Sacramento. I'm not even going to catch myself anytime. I don't care. Jeffrey Springs, 1-1 with a 4 ERA, left-handed pitcher. Do the Padres need to make some changes in their lineup against lefties? We'll talk about that when we come back. Some glaring stats from some of the players that are supposed to be good at hitting lefties on the Braden Surprenant Show on Standing Number 1 Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Braden Surprenant it's Braden Surprenant. This basketball season, when your favorite stars are putting up points, Underdog Fantasy is giving you the chance to turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and it's live in California right now. Just choose whether a player will go higher or lower on stats like points, assists, rebounds, and more. You can make picks across basketball, or you can even mix in other sports too. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get your entry right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Yeah, you heard that right. $1, $1,000. Sounds like a good deal to me. This week, I'm looking at some NBA action. I picked one player to go higher than 25.5 points, another to go lower than 8.5 rebounds, and just like that, I cashed in. It's fast, easy, and makes every game way more fun to follow. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using the promo code Braden to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code Braden. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 years or older to play, 19 or older in Alabama and in Nebraska, 19 and older in Colorado for some games, 21 and over in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Void in Colorado. Concern with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
Everlasting lover.
118. Get a little bit of a preview here for Padres and A's. And we will also dive into the left-handed batting order for the Padres. It's not very good. I don't get super excited about it. I just don't. We'll talk more about the, Hart situation, number 5 starter. I mean, if it's easy to just say, go get the best pitcher on the market. That doesn't mean the Padres have the resources to do it with Sandy. I know a lot of people would want that to happen. That's another conversation for a little bit later in the season. I think you got to roll with what you got for the next, week or so and see what they got. They might be able to find some innings. I mean, Matt Waldron was a huge upgrade for the Padres last year. Helped them out. 8 innings. Saved them some money. They got to be able to do that. Now, playoff time is a little bit different, but during the season, you can win with the players that they have. I'm not ready to jettison Kyle Hart after one bad outing where he couldn't find strikes in a place that no starting pitcher in the Padres organization this weekend, had strikes. Somebody asking me about the valet, $57 valet at a hotel. Guy hooked me up, dude. I only had to do like one day, even though I left it there for 2 days. I had to go back to the other hotel to get my car because I was staying at the hotel down the street because we ran out of rooms. But I go to get the car. Now, let me ask you this. In terms of like tipping, I tip the valet guy always. Right? I mean, he's going to get your car. He parked it for you. I know it's mandatory at this particular place. It was valet only. But let me ask you about this situation. So I go back to the hotel that the team was staying at where my car is at on Sunday. And I'm going to get my car before I head over to the ballpark. And I give him the valet thing. And he goes and he gets... he's like, all right, we'll be right back. In the meantime, like 3 or 4 have rolled up. People that have showed up after me have already gotten their cars. And I'm still sitting there going like, where's the car? So it's like a long driveway for this hotel. And like under the awning is where they're dropping the cars off. But my car, for some reason, pulls up and it gets dropped off like before the awning, like down the road, like 2 or 3 spots, which is fine with me. I'll go walk to it. So I'm sitting there. The guy parks the car, and then he goes and he puts the key with the valet guy that's sitting at the desk that's taking like more valet pickups. It's Sunday. Look, I get it. Probably massive checkout at the Marriott Marina Del Rey. And so I'm like, I'll be patient with this. I don't need to, guys are working hard. It's fine. So my car's sitting there. I need the key. And I'm like waiting for the guy to give me the key. He's talking with somebody. He's taking the phone calls as people are calling down to get their car ready. So when they get down there, the car's waiting for them. And meanwhile, the guy that drove my car up is already working on the next couple of cars. They've already pulled up with other ones. And I got to get going now. I was like, okay. So I'm patiently waiting to ask the guy for the keys. And so I go up. I'm like standing there at the counter waiting. And he finally goes like, yeah, can I help you? I'm like, can I get my key? I didn't snap at him, but I was like, can I get my key for my car? Yeah, which car is yours? The one right there that was pulled up? He just hands me the key. He's like, all right, have a good day. If I didn't ask for the key, I would have been standing there for another, 10, 15 minutes. So from that point, I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to give you the tip now. I don't think I'm in the wrong on that. I mean, they didn't bring it up to the spot. And then I had to ask for my keys. I'm like, I was talking to my mom about that. I was like, was I supposed to tip this guy? And she was like, why didn't you wait at your car? They would have no idea I was sitting there because it was like down the road and there was construction going on. You couldn't even see it from the vantage point of where we're at. No tip for you.
We're getting into a tipping conversation here because there's a situation that I don't want to say struggle with because that's too strong of a word, but I question. Do you tip on takeout?
No.
Because I don't.
I'm
not ashamed to admit it. I'm the one who's taking my time to drive somewhere. I'm using my gas.
Yes.
I'm walking up to the counter, paying the price, and picking up the food and leaving. You didn't wait on me. You didn't service anything like that. But there
You put the
there are
food
places
in the container.
right, but there are
Is that-
places you go that like you pay for it at the counter on takeout, and they're like you know answer this question or leave the tip. And you're like, I'm not tipping you on takeout. Am I cheap?
I
Don't
mean,
answer
I
that.
yeah. I mean, I think it depends on the place. If I like the place, maybe I'll give them a couple bucks. But I don't know what am I tipping for exactly. You're right. But I've seen a lot of people like they'll out you on social media. I saw Drew Brees get outed on social media one time for not tipping on takeout, and he went to go pick it up. It's like, what do you want him to do? Why? Because he's Drew Brees, he has to give you money. Like if I'm doing all the work, what's the tip for? The valet thing was a little bit different. I dropped $57 on the valet anyway. I mean, so
No, I wasn't relating to. I just asking.
I know, but I'm saying I'm just putting it out there. I like, and here's the thing: it's a controversial one is tipping at Starbucks because I used to work at Starbucks. I appreciated the tips, but when I go there, I don't really. There's not a lot that I'm like, oh yeah, here. And I used to receive the tips, but I don't tip. So I'm like, hey, if you want to tip, fine. I was never really pushing on it. It's a lot easier to tip now on your app and all that stuff. But I want to make sure, like, yeah, okay. So I valet, but I don't pay them to park my car. I pay them to have my car ready when I want to leave. True. It's a good call, Paul Taylor. Good call. Pitching matchups this week. Padres Michael King coming off of an 11 strikeout performance in which he scattered 2 hits, a walk, and hit a batter over 5 shutout innings in a beatdown of the Guardians. King struck out 12 over 5 of 2-run ball in his start last year against the A's. His only start so far against the A's organization. He's going against Luis Severino, former Met. Is 0-1 with a 3.75 ERA this year, has walked 7 through 12 innings to start his stay in Sacramento. 31-year-old Severino has 2 career starts against the Padres, allowing an earned run on 6 2/3 innings in 2023 and 1 earned run in 5 innings last year. He has struck out 10 against 7 walks across 2 starts. That's tonight's matchup on the pitching side. Tomorrow, it's Dylan Cease and Jeffrey Springs. Dylan Cease, the right-hander, is 1-0 with a 3.38 ERA, has a 14-3 strikeout to walk ratio through 10 2/3 innings to start the year. 4.28 ERA, 6 career starts against the A's, but he struck out 8 over 6 innings of 1-run ball in a win last year in San Diego. As for Jeffrey Springs, including 7 starts last year to end the season, he has a 3.43 ERA, up to a 4 ERA to start this season. In 42 innings since returning from Tommy John surgery, the former Ray had a 2.46 ERA over 135 and a third innings in 2022. His only action against the Padres was allowing 5 runs in 2 2/3 innings out of the bullpen in 2018. Last starting pitching matchup of the week, Randy Vasquez on Wednesday, a little bit earlier of a start time than we're used to on Wednesday. It'll be a 12:30 start in Sacramento, 11:30 pregame show with Sam Levitt on the Eagle Water SoCal Padres pregame show. Randy Vasquez, 0-1, the 1.69 ERA going against Osvaldo Bido of the Athletics. He's 1-0 with a 2.70 ERA. Do you have to deal with the left-hander on Tuesday? How should the Padres lay out their left-handed hitting lineup or their left-handed pitching lineup against left-handed pitching? We'll talk about that when we come back, plus more on the Athletics and what to expect at up in Sacramento, because right now at Sutter Health Park, at least for 3 games, the ball's been flying out of the yard. We don't really know how this ballpark plays too much from a major league perspective. So it'll be interesting to watch tonight on the game and listening to on the radio. 7:05 start today and tomorrow, 12:35 start on Wednesday. All of those games can be heard right here on 97.3 The Fan. Left-handed pitching lineup for the Padres. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 1:33. Final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show on a Monday. Getting you ready for Padres and A's coming up at 7:05 p.m. Pacific time. Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show at 6:05 with Sam Levitt. Coming up after Gwen and Chris, who will have full show today, right? 2 to 6. Full show, ready to go. Talking a lot of, obviously, Padres baseball, a lot of different situations out there and scenarios. We'll talk more about the A's and the Padres, but I want to go back to the Padres and their lineups in terms of the righty-lefty mix-up, because I'm not overly excited about the Padres and how they line themselves up against a left-handed pitcher. And look, it's early in the season, so we don't want to get to cut to too early conclusions. I'm saying that with Kyle Hart. I still think you got to rock with Kyle Hart in the next couple of weeks or so, because we've played 10 games, which means you have to do the same thing with guys like Brandon Lockridge, which I think Brandon Lockridge is doing an okay job. I'm not super upset with his performance. I think you're getting what you're expected to get out of a guy like Brandon Lockridge. I think he has a bright future in terms of like being able, once he solidifies himself in Major League Baseball, to be a contributing player. I think he could do a lot of different things from or with Brandon Lockridge for the player that he is. But you look at Yuli Gurriel, and there's not really a lot you could do with Yuli Gurriel in general, and Yuli Gurriel gets paid to take on left-handed pitchers. And so far, when you look at the lineups that the Padres put together for left-handed pitchers, and I'll go back to, some of the lineups they had over the weekend. The lineup on Friday, that only produced one run. And again, the Padres last year did not have a lot of success with lefties either. And they got to find a way to have success against left-handed pitchers, if they want to be the team that they say they want to be. But I look at the lineup that they had on Friday. And again, when I saw it for the first time, it was just kind of like a deflating. It's a little deflating. Tatis and Arias at the top with Manny. All of that's the same. They continue to go with Bogarts in the cleanup spot against left-handers. I mean, I understand protecting Merrill to an extent, but Merrill has done an exquisite job all year. I mean, he is putting up MVP kind of numbers early on in the season after signing the contract extension. That's a guy that should be, it's only one spot in the order, but I don't know why you got to mess with the top part of your order, against the left-hander. And then they go with Yuli Gurriel. Jake Cronenworth, they hit lower in the order because he's a lefty. Brandon Lockridge gets the start against lefties. And then the pitching situation really dictates who's catching that day. They're letting Elias Diaz catch some of the veterans, and then Martin Maldonado catch some of the younger pitchers, like a Randy Vasquez. And he pitched on Friday, so Martin Maldonado was going to be in the order. And I think the catchers have done a serviceable job this year. You would like to get a little bit more production out of them, but they're doing a very serviceable job. In fact, Martin Maldonado got the only run of the game on Friday. He had a pump. This guy's hitting 231 in the year. But you look at how the Padres are doing against left-handed pitchers. And again, I'm trying to update my little stat sheet here in terms of at-bats and batting average and some other things like that. But you look at their overall statistics against left-handed pitching. Luis Arias is not going to be fazed by it. And I'll sort everything based on plate appearance on Baseball Savant. Manny Machado, one of your better players, right? He's near the top. But you look at statistically where everybody's hitting. I mean, Jackson Merrill against left-handers is worse than he is against righties. It's a little it's expected on the splits, but it's not that much worse. He's hitting 235 against left-handers with a 273 expected batting average. 263 on base, 529 slug. His expected weighted on-base average is 324, which is solid, or 346, which is solid. His batting average on balls in play, not great at 214, but, he's a guy that's going to play every day. Compared him to Xander Bogaerts, again, small sample size, it's relatively the same numbers. Xander is a right-handed hitter against lefties compared to Jackson Merrill. Now, he has had 5 less plate appearances than Jackson against left-handed pitchers, but he's hitting 231 to Jackson's 235. He has got an on-base percentage that's higher than Jackson Merrill's at 286. The expected on-base is the same. Slugging percentage is way higher for Jackson than it is for Xander against lefties. The slugging percentage for Xander Bogaerts against lefties is 231. It's 529 for Jackson Merrill. So why the flip-flop of 4 and 5 in the order? Why can't you just go with the usual top guys in your batting order that you go with against right-handers? Again, it's the same thing trying to mix up righty-lefty in the top part of your order. It's not like Xander is that much better against lefties than Jackson is, where you have to flip him to the cleanup spot. Like that's part of the conversation I don't understand. The other one, and the most important one, comes with, again, Brandon Lockridge. I think it's a way for him to get reps. I think it's a way to get him in the lineup and get some starts in there. But I look at the biggest one is Yuli Gurriel. You look at Yuli Gurriel, and for the grand, overall case for Yuli Gurriel in general, he comes into spring training, he hits really well, which happens. That's also a small sample size in the grand scheme of things. But, Yuli Gurriel hits his way onto the team. Fine. Guy's tight with Manny Machado. Okay. Veteran. It's like 40 years old, 41 years old. He has had 2 very poor seasons the last couple of years. He hasn't been good since 2021. Maybe you catch lightning in the bottle with Yuli Gurriel. But he's on the team to do 2 things. And really, it's one, if you really consider the situation. He's on the team to be a designated hitter. And he's on the team to hit left-handed pitching, which really means he's on the team to be a DH against left-handed pitching. Raise the hands. Show me how many of you out there have the same amount of hits this year against the left-handed pitcher as Yuli Gurriel. Oh, everybody. Yuli Gurriel does not have a hit against a lefty. He's only had 13 plate appearances, so it's not, you have to understand the context of the situation, and maybe he'll get hot. But Yuli Gurriel also he only has 1 hit, or he has no hits against left-handed pitching. 0. He has 13 plate appearances. He's got an expected batting average of .035. He's got an on-base percentage of .077, because he has reached 1 time against the lefty. His expected on-base percentage is .115. Expected slug is .042, which is 0 with his regular slug. His expected weighted on-base average is .088. He hasn't had 1 barrel off a lefty. Not saying he has to, but it'd be nice. And his batting average on balls in play is 0. Not great for somebody that is employed by the Padres to strictly hit against left-handed pitching. You don't want to give Gavin Sheets the opportunity. Fine. But you're getting to a point where how much longer are you going to, and you have to give him some time. I fully understand that. How much longer are you going to go with Yuli Gurriel in the lineup against the left-handed pitcher? I mean, I hope he hits 3 home runs this week, specifically tomorrow in Sacramento, to make it worth him being on the roster. But we made the case of Connor Joe versus Yuli Gurriel when they made that decision the week of opening day, and it's continuing to be the same problem for the first couple of weeks of the season, first 10 games of the year. And again, it's only 13 plate appearances. But let's look at it from another perspective. He's the DH, and I think Jose Iglesias does a lot more for you when it comes to playing defensively. But why not give Jose Iglesias a chance at this point in time? It's not like you're getting too much out of Yuli, unless they think we're going to go Yuli, heavy early and just give him a chance to prove himself and then out, which could be the plan. That could be what they're doing right now. But Dennis Lin brought this up with Ben and Woods. He expects Yuli Gurriel and Jason Hayward to be part of the team at least till Memorial Day before they start making the decision on that. I mean, I don't know why this guy's in the lineup. And then you have, again, like, I don't know why. I understand at the beginning of the season with Xander Bogaerts as, you know, as the right-hander against the lefty in the cleanup spot compared to a guy like Jackson Merrill, or however you want to frame the big, top half of the order. But when you got Jackson Merrill hitting between Xander Bogaerts and he's got Yuli Gurriel behind him, I mean, come on, we gotta fix this. I'm not huge with Gurriel playing in general, and if he's expected to play against left-handed pitching, he needs to do a lot better than what he's doing right now. I think the same thing could be said about Brandon Lockridge. Mike Schilt likes using his players. I'm totally cool with that. You got a 26-man roster, go use the 26 players. Let them play. Don't let a guy sit on the bench the entire time and get cold and get rusty. It's hard to come off the bench and go out there and play. But I would be surprised in the next couple of weeks if they don't start mixing things up with Gavin Sheets getting an opportunity to start as a DH against the lefty just to see how it goes. Gavin Sheets has 3 at-bats against the left-hander. He's 0 for 3. Small sample size. I mean, Jason Hayward's 1 for 2 against left-handers. But with the production you're currently getting out of the lineup against left-handed pitching, it's not much better than what it would be if you decided to go Iglesias in the lineup, if you decided to just even have Jason Hayward get a start, if you decided to have Gavin Sheets be the DH, or if you decided to bring up Connor Joe and have Connor Joe play against left-handers. At least with Connor Joe, you can use him in different spots. He can play first base. He can play in the corner outfield positions. He can play third. He can fill in the infield. He could be a DA. He could be a pinch hitter off the bench. There's a lot of things Connor Joe can do. On top of the fact that he has outplayed Yuli Gurriel the last 3 years of baseball statistically. The only year that gives him the edge, Yuli, in the last 4 or 5 years is 2021 when Yuli won a batting title. It's been a long time since that happened. So the left-handed lineup to me is just, it's not desirable. Doesn't excite me. So I'm curious to see what the lineup is like tomorrow against the left-handed pitcher. I mean, you look at the right-handed stats, and again, it's a lot of guys out there raking. Fernando hitting 407. Gavin Sheets hitting 435 with 24 plate appearances. Gavin Sheets has had the second most plate appearances against a right-hander all year. He's hitting 435. Machado's hitting 304 against righties. Bogart's hitting 250. Luis Arraez not doing that great against right-handers, but he was really starting to come around yesterday. I think Arraez is back, folks. He's hitting 182 against right-handed pitching, but his expected batting average is 275. He's not getting a lot of luck right now. Cronenworth's hitting 250, but his expected batting average against a righty has been 182. He actually hasn't done that poorly against lefties. Jackson Merrill hitting 500 against right-handed pitching, and all of his stuff is online. I mean, again, with the expected batting average and the expected stats compared to what they actually are, it shows if a player's getting lucky or not, or unlucky, or if it's expected results. Jackson Merrill, get this stat. This is how great this guy's playing right now. He's hitting 500 against right-handed pitching. His expected batting average is 502. He's not getting lucky. He's not getting unlucky. On-base percentage, 545. Expected, 548. Slugging percentage, 800. Expected slug, 969. So maybe a little bit of bad luck there. Weighted on-base average, 572. Expected weighted on-base average, 627. He's barreled the ball 4 times against right-handed pitching, and his batting average on balls in play is 571, which currently leads the team against right-handed pitching. What an insane stat line for Jackson Merrill against righties. Against lefties is not too bad. Move him up in the order. You got guys like Jason Hayward on the same size you talk about Yuli Gurriel. At least Hayward's got, he's going to have a little bit more leeway just because of his contract that he signed, and also, he could do other things. He could play defense. You're not super afraid of him playing defense in the outfield. He can run the bases. I think he brings a lot of good knowledge to the outfield from a veteran leadership perspective. But he's got to do better than what he's doing, and he's in the same kind of boat as Yuli Gurriel. He has 19 plate appearances against righties, right? He's a lefty. He's going to be playing against righties a lot. He's hitting .063. His expected batting average is 123, so he's getting a little bit of bad luck, but not a lot. 158 on base percentage, a 214 expected on base percentage, 125 slug, a 208 expected weighted on base average. He's barreled one ball, but his batting average on balls in play is a team worst 083 against right-handers, and he's supposed to be the guy that's hitting righties. I need money in the chat. Make him the outfield coach then. Well, you got to give Jason Hayward and Yuli Gurriel some time, but a lot of the question marks about this team going in the season, specifically about those two players, not great starts for either of them. I mean, the Padres said they could stomach like Martin Maldonado hitting 200. He's done okay. Again, I'm just looking about righty-lefty splits. I think there needs to be some tweaks to the lineup against left-handed pitching, because the Padres' 2 losses so far this year is against starters with that are left-handed pitchers. I mean, Yuli Gurriel's only hits against a righty, and he's supposed to be in against lefties, but his expected batting average is 194 on his 1-for-1. That ball wasn't hit very hard, and it leaked through the infield. But hey, you know what? Won the game a couple Saturdays ago. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, as we get you up to Gwynn and Chris and get you ready for Padres baseball later on in the afternoon, early evening. Let's get out to Tim in Miramar, wants to weigh in on the show. Tim, what's going on, man?
Braden, how you doing, my man?
Doing well.
All right. 3 points, if I may, please.
Well, it depends how the first 2 go, if I allow a third. So you better hit hot quick.
Fair enough. Let's agree we all want the same thing. We want the Padres to win, right?
I would say so. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. First point, you can't have your cake and eat it too when it comes to spring training. You can't, you say it's a small sample size, and you can't say this guy didn't do well and this guy did. Now, Lockridge had a good spring. Sheets had a good spring. Gurriel, not so. But I'm just saying, they're all in the same bucket. Either you accept spring training or you don't. Okay? Fair enough for everybody.
Yep.
Point 2, and you kind of touched on it at the end there, you can't talk about not hitting lefties unless you include Cronenworth in the conversation. And you did bring him up at the end there. So I'll give you that. So let's see where it goes. He feels he can do the job, so let's see if we can, okay?
Well, he's hitting 267 against lefties. He's actually doing better against lefties than his righties right now.
I don't go there. And I don't like his strikeout total. He's leading the team. But anyway, okay, so we'll see where Cronenworth goes. But you got to keep an eye on him too and see if Iglesias and him have to platoon. But we'll see. But if they continue to have problem with lefties and he doesn't hit them, then you got to think about a platoon situation, which I know Schulte doesn't want to do, but we'll see. Point 3, Gurriel. I know this is a touchy subject for us, and I wanted Gurriel on the team to begin with, and you wanted Joe, and I get it. And Gurriel is an experiment, friend. I mean, that's what he is. We're going to find out, and his job is to drive in runs. Fly balls when a man's on third, less than 1 out. Man on second, get him over to third. His job's to drive in runs. Nobody's asking him to hit 300, even 250.
I just want to get a hit right now, Tim.
I hear you, brother. He's not doing the job. I agree. And if he continues to not do the job, then he's gone. And you can bring up Joe. I'm good with that. But we gave it a shot. And lastly, you mentioned Hayward. And that's the other one. And I don't care what they're paying him. You want to win, you want to win. They were willing to cut Wade, and they're only paying him $1 million. And I don't even like his defense, bro, at this point. I mean, I don't know why Lockridge wasn't in the game in the 9th inning yesterday. I mean, he falls down on that pop-up down the line. Even his defense I don't like. But, again, I think that's another one that's not going to survive. Thank you for the time, brother.
I appreciate it, Tim. Tim, a big fan of Yuli Gurriel and just on Cronenworth. against left-handed pitching. Brewer's not doing that bad of a job against lefties, but again, his expected numbers are lower than what his actual numbers are, so he is getting a little bit of luck. I don't think like Jason Hayward is an answer out there in left field. I think the Padres would rather have somebody else, but my argument on Jason Hayward is you can get a little bit more out of him than you can with Yuli Gurriel. Eggy Rosario cleared waivers, right? Guy rakes against left-handers. There's a lot of other options out there for the Padres. I think you just have to wait through some of these early results. Again, some of these guys, everybody on the team's got less than 20 plate appearances against lefties. We'll see what tomorrow's lineup would look like. But today, Padres and A's, 7:05. Pregame at 6:05. Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show. Gwen and Chris coming up next. That'll do it for me. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow, hopefully after a Padres victory on the Braden Surprenant show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.